Chapter 467. Huiming replied, Junior brother Dongbua, I am currently staying at the distant Dust Temple. If you wish to find me, you can go there to look for me. As for normal communication, you can do so through communication treasures. Alright. Dongbua Shuang and Huiming left an imprint on each other so that communication treasures could be used to sense each other. Soon, Senior Huiming bade farewell and left. Senior Huiming is greatly respected by the disciples of Crimson Rock Mountain. Seeing him today, I can see that he is indeed extraordinary. He even came to see me and treated me so courteously. Dongbua Shuang sighed. Although he had potential, news of his grade 1 true meaning had never been revealed. Secondly, Senior Huiming was also a grade 1 true meaning transcendent. He was also the only grade 1 true meaning transcendent that Sacred Master Crimson Dust had accepted. He was now a stage 4 world deity. I heard that Senior Huiming suffered a setback in his love life when he was young and became a monk. Jing Qiu sighed. His talent was outstanding, and he was even a grade 1 true meaning transcendent. Later on, because of a grudge, he began to spread his faith without restraint, and quickly became a stage 4 world deity. Dongbua Shuang nodded. Faith, it was a huge help to one's cultivation. By accumulating the power of faith, one's cultivation speed would explosively increase. A grade 1 true meaning transcendent with outstanding talent would naturally improve by leaps and bounds. However, faith was the key to success and failure. Faith was also bound by karma. The more faith one absorbed, the harder it would be to transcend. This was also the biggest obstacle for stage 4 world deities to become powerful existences. Even so, there were still countless world deities who continued to spread and absorb faith. If they did not absorb faith, they would at most become stage 2 world deities. If they absorbed faith, they would have a chance of becoming stage 3 world deities. Those who were extremely lucky might even become stage 4 world deities. Naturally, they were all willing to absorb faith. As for those who could not become powerful existences, since ancient times, how many had become powerful existences in the deity world and dark abyss? It was too difficult. Of course, grade 1 true meaning transcendence would usually not absorb faith unless there was a special reason. Dongbua Shuang had also been warned by the weapon spirit, Crimson Rock, not to absorb faith. That was because a grade 1 true meaning transcendence potential was extremely great, and his chances of becoming a stage 4 world deity were already very high. It was not worth it for him to save time by absorbing faith, which was akin to cutting off all hope of becoming a powerful existence. The main hall was extremely tall, and at the highest point was the place where the myriad flower feast was held. Clouds and mist surrounded the main hall, and one after another, great existences flew over from afar. Each of these great existences had their own unique auras. Some were blazing hot, as though they could instantly incinerate everything within 1,000,000 miles, some were reserved like a bottomless abyss, and some were so sharp that they tore through the void, causing Dongbua Shuang and the others' hearts to palpitate. Dongbua Shuang and the other 1,900 great existences were currently seated at the outermost perimeter, each with a table of food in front of them. There were also soldiers standing guard around them, the weakest of which was a stage 1 world deity. Occasionally, a stage 2 world deity could be seen as well. As for the area near His Majesty and the other powerful existences, there were even stage 3 world deity guards standing guard respectfully. I remember that General Ying's father is a stage 3 world deity and His Majesty's personal guard. Dongbua Shuang glanced in the direction of His Majesty and saw the stage 3 world deity guard standing guard. I reckon that General Ying's father is one of them. As deities, they could not clearly see what was happening within the banquet. All they could feel was an invisible pressure, and when they looked over with their naked eyes, all they could see was a blur. Blood Blade was seated at the highest point. He was dressed in a crimson robe, and his eyes were deep and serene. The area around him seemed to be filled with endless darkness and destruction. Just by sitting there, he was able to instill fear in the other powerful existences who were participating in the banquet. Beside him, there were 3 others who were seated at the same height as him. The aura of these three people was so strong that it was comparable to that of Blood Blade. One of them was a ruler from the dark abyss. His body was huge and towering, and his eyes were filled with an endless bloodthirst. The dark abyss had a total of 3 rulers. Just like how the Temporal Island Lord, Blood Blade, and the Myriad God Palace Head stood at the apex of the deity world, these 3 rulers also stood at the apex of the dark abyss. There was another abyss ruler. He was a cold male dressed in golden armor. His gaze was the sharpest, and none of the powerful existences below dared to look him in the eye. The final person was a graceful and luxurious woman. Her aura was the most reserved and gentle, though she was not at a disadvantage when compared to Blood Blade and the others. Other than these 4, the other powerful existences were all seated below. They were grand and majestic, and there were close to 100 of them. Some of them came from the dark abyss, while others were subordinates of the Bloodshed God Palace. Most of them were independent powerful existences who did not belong to any organization. These powerful existences were all extremely arrogant, and most of them were unwilling to serve others. Even powerful existences like Blood Blade, Temporal Island Lord, and Myriad God Palace Head weren't willing to serve them. For instance, the Bloodshed God Palace. Even though they had several powerful existences under them, some of them were seeking refuge, while others had a teacher-disciple relationship. Other than the powerful existences, there were also Stage 4 world deities attending the banquet. However, all Stage 4 world deities belonged to the Bloodshed God Palace, and Stage 4 world deities from outside organizations were not qualified to be invited. Old monkey, I heard that you snatched a Sun Star nucleus stone from the Sun Star. Who are you listening to? Sun Star nucleus stone? The Sun Star hasn't produced a star nucleus stone for hundreds of billions of years, and I managed to snatch one? All of you must have gone crazy thinking about the Sun Star nucleus stone. Come, let's have a drink. Brother Wu, we haven't seen each other in a long time. I didn't expect you to come to the Myriad Flower Feast. I've been in seclusion for a long time. I've made some progress, so I came out to relax. The Almighties chatted in 2s and 3s. Those who were close to each other sat together. Those with grudges kept their distance. Everyone. Blood Blade sat high above, his voice somewhat cold. With so many good friends here, the Myriad Flower Feast is so lively. I'm also very happy. Everyone, let's continue drinking and chatting. While we're chatting, how about watching the little fellows from our Bloodshed God Palace compete? The powerful existences present all turned to look outside. Their gazes easily landed on the 1,900 deities outside. Most of them, however, were just there to watch the show. After all, only the powerful existences of the Bloodshed God Palace were allowed to accept disciples. Other powerful existences could not accept disciples. Chihua Laozu was also among the powerful existences. He was also an idle powerful existence who had not joined the Bloodshed God Palace. Let's begin, then. Blood Blade calmly ordered. To the God Emperor who had stood at the apex for so many years, the Myriad Flower Feast was just a gathering of old friends. As for choosing disciples, that was just a minor matter. Even those with sufficiently high statuses would find it hard to accept disciples. For instance, Blood Blade was too lazy to even accept Grade 1 true meaning transcendence. He was a Stage 4 world deity. His gaze swept across the 1,900 deities. I'll send you all over now to begin the Bloodshed God Palace battle. Dongbua Shuang, 7th Meiyu, Jiushi, Drunk Guest, and many other powerful deities from the other prefectures were all waiting quietly. Finally, the blood-armored general activated the array. Beneath the region where Dongbua Shuang and the other 1,900 deities were located, a golden array lit up. An unseen force immediately wrapped around the consciousness of Dongbua Shuang and the others and sent them flying into the distance. For a moment, Dongbua Shuang and the others lost consciousness. Their consciousness was transported to another location. Dongbua Shuang looked at the towering mountain in front of him, as well as the mountain range in the distance. There were countless caves within this mountain range, and within these caves were shrouded in mist. Violet mist, black mist, golden mist. Shuang swept his gaze across the area and saw several other deity experts standing in midair. Clearly, there were a total of 1900 deities scattered throughout the mountain range. Truly formidable. My consciousness was transported here so easily. Dongbua Shuang sensed his own body. Furthermore, this body is exactly the same as my true body. The same time immemorial body level 3, and the same great chaotic true force. The Bloodshed God Palace battle was the safest. Because it was merely a consciousness descending. Even if one died in battle, their consciousness would only return. First place in the ranking battle and second place in the survival battle of the Calm Sea Prefecture, Dongbua. In the distance, a deity frowned when he saw Dongbua Shuang. He immediately flew off in another direction. Clearly, Dongbua Shuang was ranked at the very front of the 1,900 deities. Only those who grasped grade 1 deity hearts could suppress him. Star. Chapter 468. The mountain range stretched on endlessly. Dongbua Shuang swept his gaze across the area. Including himself, there were a total of 3 deity experts within the range of this mountain range. Everyone was maintaining a sufficient distance from each other. Hua weapons began to condense from the soil and rocks of the mountain. Sabers, swords, staffs, whips, spears, hammers, axes, all of these weapons were merely top-grade deity-ranked weapons. With a wave of his hand, Dongbua Shuang summoned a storage treasure, 3 spears, and a large number of pikes. He easily refined the storage treasure and put away the spears and pikes, leaving behind a new spear in his hand. In truth, Dongbua Shuang's mirage body was already extremely tough, and the weapons it could transform into were more than enough for him to use. The 2 deity experts in the distance also chose their own weapons and waited silently. Since they dared to stay here, they had something to rely on to protect themselves. The Bloodshed God Palace battle does not restrict you by any means. Your final ranking will be determined by the number of venomous insects you kill. A majestic voice resounded in the ears of every deity expert. Only 100 will be able to attend the Myriad Flower Feast and enjoy the Myriad Flower True Fruit. These 100 will definitely be accepted as disciples by powerful existences. As for those ranked after the 100th place, it will depend on luck. Hua! High up in the sky above the mountain range, a gigantic blood-colored list suddenly appeared. Your ranking will be displayed on the list at all times. The list will change according to the number of venomous insects you kill. You can take a good look and know your own ranking, the majestic voice said. The Bloodshed God Palace battle will now begin. As soon as the voice finished, almost every mountain in the mountain range began to surge with energy, causing the mountain range to tremble. Dongbua Shuang and the 2 experts around him stared intently at the movements of this mountain range. All they saw was a violet mist slowly condensing from one of the caves on this mountain range, eventually forming a violet venomous insect about the size of a millstone. This venomous insect had a tough outer shell, and its compound eyes scanned its surroundings. Then, with a flap of its wings, it instantly disappeared. Shua! 3 starry blue-robed Dongbua Shuang and a skinny swordsman appeared at almost the same time, and an arrow tore through the air. All of them missed their target. However, the arrow streaked across the void and collided with the purple venomous bug in the void crack thousands of miles away. Both of them appeared in the real world. The arrow hit the purple poisonous insect's shell, and cracks appeared on the shell. The arrow fell down. On the other hand, the outer shell of the poisonous insect was gradually recovering. What a powerful poisonous insect! Dongbua Shuang, the skinny swordsman, and the huge man who shot the arrow from afar were all shocked. That huge man was called Guoxia, and he came from the famous Bamboo Mountain Prefecture. In the survival battle of the Bamboo Mountain Prefecture, Guoxia was ranked 19th. His archery was extremely powerful, and although it was not his ultimate move, it was still very powerful. Unexpectedly, he only managed to leave a crack on the venomous insect's shell. So south. The three Dongbua Shui Yings disappeared at the same time, reappearing next to the purple venomous bug in the distance. Their three spears carried a world-destroying might as they executed the chaotic suppression, which was powered by the great chaotic true force. In an instant, the surrounding space started to collapse. The venomous insect wanted to escape, but it could not. It could only face this terrifying encirclement. Pang, pang, pang. The spears either struck the venomous insect's claws, abdomen, or directly on its shell. The venomous insect immediately let out an ear-piercing howl of pain. The howl created a shockwave that spread in all directions. The three mirage bodies all felt an intense pain in their ears, and they felt slightly dizzy. Fortunately, they had the time immemorial body, so they were able to endure it. Rip! A terrifying sword light suddenly appeared from the side, piercing through the venomous purple insect's head. However, it only managed to pierce through halfway before the skinny swordsman immediately pulled out his sword and retreated. This was because the three Dongbua Shui Yings had simultaneously waved their spears and swept them towards him. He's really fast at escaping. The three Dongbua Shui Yings glanced at him. They then continued to attack the venomous purple insect. This Dongbua is really strong. These venomous insects are really hard to kill. It's very difficult for the two of us to ambush and kill these venomous insects first. The skinny swordsman frowned from afar. The bow-wielding giant, Guoxia, also frowned. Dongbua's mirage heart of Godheart has already reached an unimaginable level. His real body is hiding in the mirage, and we can't even find it. The three bodies that are fighting outside are all mirage bodies. Even if we could kill them, it would be pointless. Even if the mirage bodies die, they can quickly reform. Yes, I have no way of killing this venomous insect. The skinny swordsman turned around and instantly disappeared. The giant, Guoxia, was not in a hurry to leave. Instead, he watched from afar. At the same time, he had already drawn his godly bow and knocked 3 arrows. In the distance, the 3 Shui Yings were frantically attacking the venomous bug. The venomous bug's defense was extremely strong, and under its all-out attack, its carapace began to gradually shatter. Only then did blood begin to seep out of its body. It was still madly howling as it fought against the 3 Shui Yings. Occasionally, it would shoot out a poisonous needle from its mouth. The attack was fast and sudden, and even the mirage body, with its tyrannical strength, would be pierced through. The poison was extremely potent, but the mirage body itself had no fear. It easily dispersed and condensed, repelling the poisonous needle. Right now. The giant, Guoxia's eyes lit up. Shio shio shio. The 3 arrows were like 3 dazzling meteors. They drew 3 arcs in the air and instantly appeared around the venomous purple insect. Clang, clang, clang. The 3 Dongbua Shui Ying's bodies would rather use their bodies to block the venomous insect's attack than to wield their spears to block the 3 arrows. With Dongbua Shui Ying's mastery of the mirage and space, as well as the profoundness of his spear arts, it was not difficult for him to block the 3 arrows. The power of these arrows is really strong. The 3 Dongbua Shui Ying's bodies staggered from the impact. The venomous purple insect seized the opportunity to escape. South, the 3 Dongbua Shui Yings immediately chased after it. He would rather ignore the venomous insect and block my attack. The giant, Guoxia, frowned. If it was any other deity expert, they would not be able to ignore the venomous insect. However, the mirage bodies would allow the venomous insect to attack freely. Forget it, forget it. I'll let him have this place. The giant, Guoxia's figure moved. Instantly, he turned into a dazzling beam of light. His speed was extremely fast, and with a flash, he disappeared into the void. Both he and the skinny swordsman were experts in speed. That was why they dared to compete with Dongbua Shuang. Pang, pang, pang. With the coordination of various spear arts, the venomous insect's head was pierced through. However, the venomous insect did not die, and continued its frenzied counterattack. Pooh! The carapace was completely shattered. A spear pierced through the venomous insect's body, and with a violent shake, the venomous insect's tattered body shattered. Only then did the venomous insect die. What a fellow, killing a venomous insect took me 10 breaths of time. Dongbua Shuang was also speechless. He raised his head and looked at the huge blood-red board in the sky. There were already 65 names on it, and Dongbua Shuang was ranked 65th. The entire sky above the Bloodshed God Palace was filled with illusory images of mountains, deity experts, and the incomparably huge blood-red board. Within the Bloodshed God Palace, everyone could see the Bloodshed God Palace battle when they raised their heads. His Majesty, the God Emperor, and the other Almighties were all chatting as they watched the scene unfold. Many of the world deities in the Bloodshed God Palace, such as the White Sand City Lord and King Ronghai, as well as other world deities who had come from all over the world, as well as some deities like the Xia clan deities and Jing Qiu, were all looking up. Quick, look! The Xia people looked at the huge blood-red board excitedly. There are only 65 names on the board, and Dongbua's name is already on it. The Bloodshed God Palace battle has only just begun, the old man Purple Thunder Emperor said. The old man, the Purple Thunder Emperor, said, the further it goes, the crueler it will be. Deity-level experts will even kill each other. Given Dongbua's strength, he should be able to participate in the Myriad Flower Feast and enjoy a Myriad Flower True Fruit, Yunhai said. They all looked on expectantly. Chapter 469. The Bloodshed God Palace battle was still ongoing. 6 deities were currently attacking a black venomous bug. The surrounding space would occasionally crumble and collapse, and at other times, it would be sliced apart. The 6 deities were using all their strength to attack. The black venomous bug roared and struggled, but its injuries were clearly worsening. Finally, a thin sword pierced through its body, and fresh blood splattered everywhere. The venomous bug finally stopped struggling, and the other 5 deities hurriedly attacked a few more times. Following that, the 6 of them raised their heads to look at the huge blood-colored board in the sky. A new name had appeared on the 191st place. Everyone, my luck is good. My final move just so happened to kill this venomous bug. A tall and skinny man wielding 2 swords laughed. Only by working together can we hope to enter the top 100. If we were to act alone, we would probably all be ranked outside the top 500. Right now, Brother and I is ranked 15th, and I'm in the top 200. Alright, stop being so smug. The 4 of us aren't even on the board yet. The venomous bug killing test was based on the person who executed the final move, so the credit for killing the venomous bug would go to that person. Let's continue. I refuse to believe that my luck will always be so bad. Again. The 6 of them continued searching for venomous bugs. In midair, 3 mountains away from them, Shuang was also searching for venomous insects. He glanced into the distance and saw the 6 deities working together to kill a single venomous insect. These deities who are slightly weaker than me probably know that they won't be able to enter the top 100 if they act alone, so they decided to team up and work together. I need to avoid them. Dongbua Shuang was vigilant of his surroundings. He needed to be vigilant against groups of deities, as well as deities with grade 1 deity hearts. Otherwise, he would be eliminated prematurely if he was killed. According to the records, in every Bloodshed God Palace Myriad Flower Feast, it was common for powerful deities to be ganged up on and killed. No matter how carefully he avoided them, how fast were the deities? Boom boom boom, just as the 3 Dongbua Shuayings were attacking a venomous bug, the surrounding space suddenly distorted. A group of figures flickered twice before arriving at the mountain range where Dongbua Shuaying was. There were a total of 8 deities in this group. He's Dongbo of the Calm Sea Prefecture. Kill him. Kill. The 8 deity-level experts attacked without hesitation. One of them, who was wearing a gray robe, stretched out both of his hands. Instantly, the world around him fell into an endless quagmire. Formless ripples spread everywhere. It was hard to see with the naked eye. However, be it the mirage, the shadow world, or the real world, everything was penetrated. Even though his real body was hiding in the mirage, it was still affected. This shocked Dongbua Shuang. His true body is here. Out of all these deity realm experts, only this gray-robed man was able to discover Dongbu Shui Ying's true body. He easily destroyed Dongbu Shui Ying's concealment. Kill! A thunderous saber light flashed across the sky, piercing through the mirage and arriving in front of Dongbu Shui Ying's real body. Descend! Countless white silk nets wrapped around Dongbu Shui Ying. Extinguish! Dazzling light gathered from all directions, converging towards Dongbu Shui Ying. All of a sudden, all of them unleashed their attacks. Shua! Dongbu Shui Ying was so frightened that he immediately switched his body and appeared in front of one of his mirage bodies. With the help of the mirage bodies, Dongbu Shui Ying quickly changed his body and fled at high speed. Moreover, it was hard to determine his whereabouts. After all, the location of the mirage bodies was purely a thought of Dongbu Shui Ying. Over there, over there, over there. Although the gray-robed man could sense the changes in Dongbu Shui Ying's body, the others were unable to keep up with his attacks. In the end, they could only watch as Dongbu Shui Ying escaped. This Dongbu's mirage secret skill is indeed powerful. It won't be easy to kill him. Forget it, let's get rid of this poisonous bug first. The 8 figures stood in mid-air and glanced at the fleeing Dongbu Shui Ying. Following which, the 8 of them surrounded the poisonous bug that Dongbu Shui Ying had injured. They did not have full confidence in this sneak attack. It would be a good thing if they could kill it. Even if they failed, they would still be able to kill a poisonous bug. After running for more than 10 mountains, Dongbu Shui Ying finally stopped. He turned his head and looked back. He couldn't help but feel helpless. My real body is hidden in the mirage. Although not many people can discover it, those who came to participate in this battle are all very powerful. I'm afraid 1 out of 10 people will be able to discover my real body. The Mirage Realm was indeed powerful. However, it was not unsolvable. For example, the gray-robed man had cultivated the Minute Divinity Heart to an extremely high level and created his own domain-type secret skill. This domain was able to decipher his surroundings at the level of minute particles. Even if Dongbu Shui Ying hid in the mirage, he would not be able to escape the detection of the domain. Other than that, secret skills that contained the profound mysteries of spacetime could also be deciphered. There were also other deity experts. Dongbu Shui Ying had already discovered quite a few who could discover his real body. After all, those who came to participate in this battle had all cultivated to an extremely high level. Even if they could not defeat him, there were still quite a few who could discover his real body. There's no helping it. I can only be more careful. Dongbu Shui Ying discovered that a new poisonous bug was being born in a cave far away. He immediately rushed over. With his current strength, he was in an awkward position. Those who were too strong, such as those who grasped a grade 1 deity heart, were unstoppable. Those who were too weak knew that they had no hope of surviving alone. Hence, they would band together and even swear an oath that they would not betray each other. Only those who relied on their own strength, usually, they were not willing to band together. This was because the efficiency of searching for poisonous bugs when working together was the same as working alone. As for killing the poisonous bugs, how would they split the profits? Equally. That was not beneficial to either side. How despicable. They actually worked together to kill my master. Sigh, my master did not manage to escape. Quick, 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 run. Big Brother was actually killed by a group of them. He escaped. He escaped. That was close. That was close. The countless living beings watching the battle in the Bloodshed God Palace raised their heads to look at the gigantic mountain range in the sky. As they watched the battles unfold, they were all extremely nervous. Many of those who participated in the battle moved in groups. As for those who were especially confident in themselves, they chose to act alone. If they acted alone, the venomous bugs would belong to them, but if they acted in groups, the venomous bugs would belong to someone else. In terms of efficiency, acting alone was naturally much more efficient. However, there were quite a few powerful ones who ended up being surrounded and killed. Interesting. Look at that little guy. He sure is crafty. That tall guy with the great axe. His self-created secret movement technique is pretty good. The powerful existences were leisurely watching the battle. As for those who acted alone but ended up being surrounded and killed, the powerful existences did not feel wronged. After all, they had chosen their own path, and they were especially confident in themselves. Even if they were surrounded and killed, they could only admit defeat. Dongbua, hurry, that was close. What's so close about that? With Dongbua's strength, how could he be surrounded and killed so easily? The deities of the Xia people, Jing Qiu, and the rest were also watching nervously. Every time they saw Dongbua Shuang being chased by a group of deities, their hearts would tighten. Although it was dangerous to act alone, one venomous bug after another was killed by him. The number of kills by Dongbua Shuang continued to rise. On the gigantic blood-colored ranking board, Dongbua Shuaying's name was also rising. 52nd, 39th, 33rd, 25th, 19th, after all, Dongbua Shuaying's strength had always been relatively strong. Apart from those who grasped a grade 1 deity heart, the other deities did not have much of an advantage over him. As long as he survived, his ranking would naturally rise. He's at the 15th place. The White Sand City Lord, who was drinking with King Ronghai and watching the battle, also raised his head. This Dongbua might be able to enter the top 10. The Ink Cloud City Lord laughed. He was too busy during the new year. He only finished writing after a short nap at night. Star. Chapter 470. As his ranking continued to rise, Dongbua Shuang felt that it was only natural. After all, even though he was ranked 65th at the start, many of the people at the very front had only managed to kill the venomous insects by luck when they teamed up. Those fellows could not possibly always be the one to kill the venomous insects at the very last moment. If he were to always be the one to kill the venomous insects, perhaps even his teammates would take the initiative to leave. The 1,900 people who can enter the final Bloodshed God Palace battle have very small differences in strength. If 5, 6, or even 8 or 9 of them work together, only those with a grade 1 deity heart would be able to stop them. Dongbua Shuang shook his head. Furthermore, when a group of them work together, they specialize in different aspects and can even complement each other, making them even more threatening. Right now, the only thing I can do is to do my best to survive. The Bloodshed God Palace battle was never meant to select the strongest 100. Instead, it was meant to select those who could kill the most venomous insects under the same rules. This was a test of every deity expert's decision. South Dongbua Shuang traversed the vast mountain range again and again. As time passed, the rate at which venomous insects were born gradually increased. However, Dongbua Shuang continued to ensure his own safety before killing the venomous insects. As a result, his ranking did not rise at all, hovering around the 15th position. His cautiousness coupled with his comprehension of the laws of profound mysteries allowed Dongbua Shuang to continue living in this mountain range despite the deaths and elimination of deity experts. There's really no threat at all. As he traversed the mountain range, the white-haired and white-browed Jiushi waved his hand, condensing a huge golden palm in midair. It directly pressed down on a venomous insect that was trying to escape, instantly shattering it. Originally, I didn't want to expose myself so early in the Calm Sea Prefecture. I wanted to struggle for a while in the Bloodshed God Palace battle before revealing myself at the most crucial moment. It would be best if I could assassinate someone with a grade 1 deity heart. Unfortunately, because of that Dongbua, I was exposed early on. Now, anyone who sees me would avoid me as much as possible. Jiushi muttered to himself. Beneath his white brows, his cold gaze swept across his surroundings. Furthermore, there's an invisible barrier at the edge of every mountain range that prevents domains from penetrating through. Grade 1 deity heart, if he wanted to, he could cover 100 million miles with a single thought, covering the entire mountain range where the Bloodshed God Palace battle was taking place. In that case, they, who grasped a grade 1 deity heart, would be able to wantonly slaughter them. After all, no matter how he tried to flee, he wouldn't be able to escape from the law domain. However, His Majesty God Emperor would never allow such a thing to happen. If they wantonly massacred people with grade 1 deity hearts, then the bloodshed God Palace battle would be meaningless. For example, Dongbua Shuang, Drunk Guest, and some other talented seedlings, in the eyes of His Majesty and the other almighty beings, had much more potential than Jiu Shi and the others. That's... Jiu Shi looked into the distance and saw 3 young men in starry blue robes holding spears attacking a poisonous insect 7 mountains away. Dongbua. The corner of Jiu Shi's mouth curled up. What a coincidence. Even though I've killed over 30 deity experts in the Bloodshed God Palace battle, none of them makes me happier than you, Dongbua. Following that, Jiu Shi's figure disappeared without a trace. With his current realm, he was able to conceal himself stealthily. Only when he moved from one mountain to another would the invisible barrier force him to reveal himself. However, as long as he passed through the barrier, he would vanish without a trace. Stealthily, using the mountains to obstruct his line of sight and the laws of profound mysteries to distort his line of sight, Jiu Shi gradually approached. Being able to survive until now, Dongbua Shuang was naturally extremely careful. However, due to the invisible barrier set up by His Majesty, his mirage perception and spatial perception could only probe the range of one mountain at most. He was unable to penetrate into another mountain. As for further away, he could only rely on his eyes to see. Naturally, he failed to notice Jiu Shi's approach. Accompanied by an ear-piercing cry of unwillingness, the poisonous insect shattered and died. Another one down. Dongbua Shuang raised his head and glanced at the huge blood-colored board in the sky. Previously, he had fallen to the 17th position. After killing this poisonous insect, he rose to the 15th position. This was normal. Clearly, there was a group of people with strength comparable to Dongbua Shuang who were still alive and hunting poisonous insects. Dongbua Shuang abruptly turned his head to look. Far to his left, the edge of the mountain was still empty. However, Dongbua Shuang could clearly sense a figure there. It was a white-robed, white-haired, white-browed figure. When he passed through the edge, Jiu Shi could at most distort his line of sight. However, at Dongbua Shuang's level, just distorting his line of sight was impossible to hide under the laws of profound mysteries. Jiu Shi. Dongbua Shuang was shocked. This was the first time he met someone with a grade 1 deity heart. These people who grasped a grade 1 deity heart were far stronger than them. Thus, they could kill as they wished. Die. Jiu Shi was incomparably tyrannical. He was clear that he wouldn't be able to hide the moment he entered the edge of the mountain. With a wave of his hand, a huge golden palm condensed in midair. This golden palm directly pressed down on Dongbua Shuang's true body. Even if he hid in the mirage, it was useless against Jiu Shi. Shwa shwa shwa. The moment Dongbua Shuang discovered Jiu Shi, he instinctively transformed his body. 3 mirage bodies instantly appeared at 3 different edges of the mountain. When that golden palm pressed down on Dongbua Shuang's true body, his true body had already switched with the mirage bodies. Break! Jiu Shi frowned. A sharp light flashed in his eyes. Boom boom boom, every corner of the mountain felt a terrifying pressure. Even though Dongbua Shuang's true body had already switched to a mirage body and was about to pass through the edge, the terrifying pressure had already descended upon him. But at this moment, that terrifying suppression had already descended. It covered every single area, no matter where Shuang could move his body, as long as he did not leave the region of the mountain, he would definitely be hit. Careful! Snow Eagle! The deities of the Xia people, Jing Qiu, and the rest watched nervously. Because they could only see with their naked eyes, Jiu Shi's vision was distorted even when he passed through the edge. Thus, they were unable to discover Jiu Shi's figure. However, they had been paying attention to Dongbua Shuang. Thus, they also noticed the sudden appearance of that huge golden palm. Following that, the entire mountain began to crumble. Why would someone who grasps a grade 1 deity heart resort to such a treacherous sneak attack? The White Sand City Lord was somewhat annoyed. It was one thing to casually kill a random person, but to resort to such a treacherous sneak attack, that was too much. The terrifying suppression caused every single location within the range of the mountain to be annihilated. Shui Ying's true body could only feel the terrifying energy crazily permeating into his body. It was frantically tearing and tearing at his body, wanting to tear it into pieces. His time immemorial body could feel pain all over his body, but his body was still intact. Clearly, he had withstood the pressure of the domain. I didn't die. I withstood it. Dongbua Shuang could not be bothered to think too much. He instantly charged past the edge of the mountain and entered the range of another mountain. So. He continued to flee, and in a single breath, he had already traversed tens of mountains. Even this didn't kill him. Jiao Shi revealed his true body. His white brows fluttered downwards, and a hint of anger could be seen in his eyes. At least he escaped fast enough. One must know. In the end, Jiao Shi had only grasped a grade 1 deity heart, and had yet to open an inner world to become a world deity. What he displayed was merely a domain formed from the laws of profound mysteries. It was a large-scale attack, so it was naturally weaker against a single target. Moreover, the time immemorial body excelled in survival. At the third level of the time immemorial body, even a true stage 1 world deity would at most be heavily injured by a world deity domain. Only a serious attack could kill such an opponent. Naturally, Jiao Shi would find it hard to succeed with just a law domain. Was there a need? With a grade 1 deity heart, he would definitely be ranked amongst the top. Was there a need to sneak attack me? Dongbua Shuang was somewhat annoyed. If not for the fact that I can't reveal my world deity heart for now, would I be afraid of you? A grade 1 deity heart was indeed a suppressive force against them. But in the Bloodshed God Palace battle, everyone descended with their consciousnesses. Even if they died in battle, only their consciousnesses would be expelled. Under such circumstances, the top few would definitely have grasped a grade 1 deity heart. Why bother with people like them who were risking their lives to fight for a higher ranking? Sneak attack. Forget it. A person who cultivated for 6 million years only to grasp a grade 1 deity heart is only a so-so. Dongbua Shuang was very clear that he would soon leave Jiao Shi in the dust. The Bloodshed God Palace battle was getting more and more desperate. Apart from those who grasped a grade 1 deity heart, the other deities were fighting with their lives on the line. Moreover, as the rate at which the venomous insects were born increased, the threat posed by the venomous insects increased as well. The rate at which deities were dying was also increasing. More than 1,500 have already died. There are only 300 or so left. I reckon that this is the final battle. The next battle will be even more interesting. Many of the spectating world deities understood what was about to happen. At the highest point of the Bloodshed God Palace, the myriad flower feast, the Bloodshed God Emperor was seated high above. He smiled and said, "The Bloodshed God Palace battle has eliminated only 300 participants. It's about time we give them their deity weapons. Once we give them their deity weapons, the slaughter will be even faster." The other powerful existences were all watching the battle from afar. The Bloodshed God Emperor waved his hand, causing 30 blood-colored streams of light to fly out. They flew directly towards the distant chain of mountains. Star. Chapter 471. There were still 325 deities left in the mountain range. They all raised their heads and saw 30 dazzling streaks of blood-colored light descending upon different regions of the mountain range like meteors. The descent of the deity weapons. It's the deity weapons. Quick, quick, quick. This is our last chance. We must snatch the deity weapons. For a moment, all the deity experts were rushing toward the blood-colored stream of light closest to them. Even the 7 experts who had revealed their grade 1 deity hearts were doing their best to snatch it. Shuang also immediately entered the mirage and rushed toward a certain direction. The entire Bloodshed God Palace battle could be divided into 2 stages. The first stage was before the descent of the deity weapons. The second stage was the later stage. The places where the 30 bloody slaughter deity weapons landed are all at the bottom of the rankings. The White Sand City Lord raised his head and sighed. Master has truly put in a lot of effort to give those at the bottom a chance to struggle. What effort? Isn't it just to make the Bloodshed God Palace battle more interesting and unpredictable? King Ronghai laughed. Brother White Sand, you always flatter His Majesty when it comes to matters. Unfortunately, His Majesty has yet to allow you to return to his tutelage. The White Sand City Lord immediately said with a solemn expression, "Of course I want to return to Master's tutelage. However, I have committed a grave mistake. I am already grateful that Master did not kill me. Furthermore, I am not flattering you. With Master's strength, there is no need for him to give these deity experts a chance to shine." Yet, he still held a banquet and gave these deity experts a chance to soar into the sky and even enjoy the myriad flower true fruit. This is a gift. Alright. Let's not talk about it anymore. Marshal Qin and the others stopped talking. As long as His Majesty Blood Blade was involved, the White Sand City Lord would never say no. He had always wanted to return to His Majesty's tutelage. Unfortunately, His Majesty had expelled him back then. How could he change his mind so easily? The deity weapons will land too far away from Dongbua. I'm afraid we won't be able to snatch them. The deities of the Xia people and Jing Qiu watched nervously. Based on the previous Bloodshed God Palace battles, the Bloody Massacre deity weapons will always land near the weaker deity experts. The Purple Thunder Emperor said, "This Bloody Slaughter God weapon was personally refined by His Majesty, and its power is extraordinary. Anyone who participates in the Bloodshed God Palace battle, including those with Grade 1 deity hearts, will definitely die if they are injured by this Bloody Slaughter God weapon. With this divine weapon, my strength will be different. Bloody Kill Divine Weapon." Although Dongbua Shuang was rushing over at high speed, he was still too far away. There were 15 people who were closer to him, and all of them were traveling at an extremely fast speed. In just an instant, they had already passed through a tall mountain. Dongbua Shuang could only watch on as a black-armored man stretched out his hand and grabbed a red round rock that was at the waist of the mountain. The moment he grabbed it, the red round rock rapidly transformed into a blood-colored long sword. Ha ha ha! The black-armored man was overjoyed as he held the blood-colored long sword. "I've finally obtained it. With this Bloody Slaughter God weapon, I might be ranked in the top 500, but I still have hope of entering the top 100. He swept his gaze across his surroundings. 5 of the deity experts had already slowed down. "Congratulations. I didn't expect you to be one step ahead of us. Let's go." The 5 deity experts turned and left. Because they were originally in the same team as the black-armored man, they had long since sworn an oath not to harm each other. Without that oath, how could they move together without worry? Now that the black-armored man had snatched the Bloody Slaughter God weapon, the 5 of them could only choose to leave. Kill. Surround and kill him. Snatch the Bloody Slaughter God weapon. The 5 turned and left, but the other deity experts quickly rushed over, wanting to snatch it. The black-armored man laughed coldly. "Come at me if you're not afraid of death." With a single step, he teleported away, even passing through the edge of the mountain. With another step, he arrived beside a venomous bug. With a flash of his sword, the purple beetle's originally tough shell was immediately cut open. The black-armored man did not stop and quickly left. The purple beetle struggled in mid-air for a while, then directly fell down, completely dissipating as it returned to the mountain. With a single move, the purple beetle was killed. It could be said that with the Bloody Slaughter God weapon in hand, no one would dare to touch it with their body. I must snatch the Bloody Slaughter God weapon. Dongbua Shuang rapidly closed in. The Bloody Slaughter God weapon is too powerful. Even the venomous bugs were killed with a single move. At this rate, I can easily enter the top 100. Although I'm currently ranked 16th, if I'm eliminated early, the rankings of the others will continue to rise, and they might even surpass me one by one. Without the Bloody Slaughter God weapon, it would be very difficult to maintain a top 100 ranking. As for snatching the bloody slaughter god weapon, even if he was surrounded and killed, his ranking would still be very high. Surround and attack. Go. Don't let him escape. The deities in front of him had already made their move. An azure chain streaked across the sky, followed by countless more azure chains, all of which wrapped around the fleeing black-armored man. The black-armored man's expression changed slightly. Your survival abilities are too weak. You won't be able to protect the bloody slaughter god weapon. Another majestic voice rang out, and black flying discs appeared in the surroundings. Countless black flying discs surrounded the black-armored man. Die! A purple beam of light instantly pierced through everything, arriving in front of the black-armored man. The bloody slaughter god weapon was indeed powerful. But at the very least, it had to touch the enemy's body. Currently, these deities were either using powerful techniques that they had come up with, or they were using their weapons from afar. None of them could get close. These pursuers all worked together to attack the black-armored man first. You want to kill me? The black-armored man growled savagely. His movement technique was erratic, and at the same time, the blood-colored blade in his hand suddenly expanded to over 5,000 kilometers in length. Shwa shwa shwa. This black-armored man's blade techniques were extremely powerful. For a moment, the surrounding area was filled with blood-colored blade lights, forcing the surrounding deities to evade and maintain their distance. The fact that the black-armored man was able to survive until now showed that his strength was not too far off from theirs. He also had a world deity's secret technique, so even if he was struck by 2 or 3 moves, he would not immediately die. However, if the other deities were to be touched by this blood-colored blade, they would definitely die. While resisting, the black-armored man fled. He wanted to shake off the pursuing deities. Not good. The black-armored man suddenly saw a figure chasing after him. As the figure passed through the mountain, he could clearly see it. It's the Calm Sea Prefecture's Dongbua. That was because 5 deities had given up and left at the start. Thus, there were only 12 of them, including Dongbua Shuang, who were chasing after the black-armored man. Due to the distance, Dongbua Shuang and the rest were unable to catch up to him. Thus, there were only 7 of them. 7 deities surrounded the black-armored man, and none of them dared to engage in close combat. Instead, they attacked from afar, and they could only display 60 to 70% of their strength. And with the bloody slaughter deity weapon wreaking havoc, all of them had to be extremely careful, so the amount of strength they could unleash was even less. In addition, this was the first time they had teamed up to attack, so they weren't able to coordinate perfectly. Naturally, they were unable to do anything to the black-armored man. Not good. The black-armored man tried his best to escape. Dongbua Shuang posed a much greater threat than the other 7. Although any one of the other 7 was comparable to Dongbua Shuang, none of them dared to get close to him. But Dongbua Shuang dared to do so. With his 3 mirage bodies, he had nothing to fear. Without the deity weapon, Dongbua Shuang posed a much greater threat. Unfortunately, the black-armored man wanted to escape, but the other 7 joined forces to obstruct him. Shwa, shwa, shwa. Dongbua Shuang was finally within the same mountain range as the black-armored man. With a thought, 3 starry blue-robed youths appeared beside the black-armored man. Pu, piu, piu. Blade lights and spear shadows flashed. The mirage bodies were not real bodies, and even if they were damaged, they could recover instantly. Dongbua Shuang was able to unleash his full strength perfectly. The 3 mirage bodies did not care about defense at all, and they attacked in a frenzy. In an instant they suppressed the black-armored man, and a spear pierced through his abdomen. If not for Jiu Shi, Dongbua Shuang would have been number 1 in the Calm Sea Prefecture. The black-armored man was the closest to the deity weapon. Evidently, the Blood Blade considered him to be the weakest. In the Calm Sea Prefecture, the black-armored man was probably ranked 30th. Since the deity weapon was useless against the mirage bodies, he was naturally suppressed in a one-on-one fight. We can't let Dongbua snatch it away from us. The other 7 deities were all anxious. They understood that the black-armored man would not be able to escape, but they had to stop Dongbu Shuang at all costs. After all, the moment Dongbu Shuang managed to snatch it, the threat he posed would be much higher than the black-armored man. At this time, there were still 4 deities closing in on him. Let's join forces. The 4 deities transmitted their voices. They were clearly anxious as well. If Dongbu Shuang managed to snatch it away, it would be extremely difficult to snatch it back. Chapter 472. Alright, let's work together. Stop Dongbu of the Calm Sea Prefecture. The 11 deity experts chose to work together without hesitation. Everyone could see that if they did not, Dongbu Shuang would be able to successfully snatch the bloody slaughter deity weapon. A green-haired woman dressed in a long robe looked at Dongbu Shuang from afar, her eyes emitting a cold green light. Her lips moved slightly. Everyone, Dongbu's real body is over there. At the same time, sound waves began to sweep through the surroundings, converging at the center of which was Dongbu Shuang's real body hidden in the mirage. Dongbu Shuang felt an ear-piercing and uncomfortable sound drilling into his mind, causing it to buzz incessantly. A sound wave attack. There are so many experts in the Bloodshed God Palace battle, and the Mirage deity heart is famous for being good at assassination. Aside from not using the World Deity Heart, I've already pushed the Mirage Deity Heart's concealment to its limits, but I was still discovered. Although the sound waves were powerful, his time-immemorial body was much more resilient and could completely resist them. It did not affect his control over the 3 Mirage avatars. The 3 Mirage avatars disregarded their own safety and continued to attack. The black-armored man's abdomen was pierced by a spear, but his eyes were filled with anger and unwillingness. Being pierced by a spear was not life-threatening. If Dongbu Shuang really wanted to kill his opponent, he would probably need at least 10 or 20 spear strikes. But being pierced in the abdomen made him realize that he had no hope of keeping the bloody slaughter deity weapon. If he continued to resist, there would only be one ending for him, death and elimination. Dongbu, if I can't get it, then don't even think about getting it. The black-armored man roared ferociously. With a sudden wave of his hand, the blood-colored saber in his hand pierced through space and appeared near the 6 deity experts thousands of kilometers away. Dongbu Shuang was stunned. Admirable. The 3 Dongbu Shuang glanced at the black-armored man before disappearing at the same time, reappearing thousands of kilometers away. There, the other 6 deity experts had already begun fighting over the weapon. Are you impressed? The black-armored man stood in midair. At this moment, no one was surrounding him. He sighed softly. What a pity that I met the Calm Sea Prefecture's Dongbu. His mirage body isn't his true body, so he's not afraid of the bloody slaughter deity weapon at all. Swoosh! The black-armored man quickly retreated to the edge of the mountain and watched the battle from afar. He was waiting for an opportunity. If Dongbu Shuang died, he would still be able to continue fighting. Dongbu Shuang did not feel any hatred towards his opponents. Everyone was just trying to get into the top 100. Once they got into the top 100, they would definitely be taken in as a disciple by a powerful existence, and they would even be able to obtain a myriad flower true fruit. Since the black-armored man chose to give up, Dongbu Shuang naturally left him. Be careful of Dongbu. We can't let him get it. The 6 deity realm experts, as well as the other 5 deity realm experts in the distance, all wanted to snatch the bloody massacre deity weapon, but they were wary of Dongbu Shuang. In terms of combat power, Dongbu Shuang was one of the best amongst them. His advantage wasn't so great that he could suppress him. It was just that his mirage body posed too much of a threat when it came to snatching the bloody massacre deity weapon. Dongbu Shuang gave it a try. One of the swordsmen was able to casually block the attacks of 2 of his mirage bodies with a single sword. There were also the other deity realm experts obstructing him, causing Dongbu Shuang to have no hope at all. They might be afraid of Dongbu, but I'm not. As long as I can get my hands on the bloody massacre deity weapon, I'll be able to swiftly attack his true body. The green-robed lady was also attacking from afar, looking for an opportunity to snatch the bloody massacre deity weapon. Shwa shwa shwa. 3 starry blue-robed youths appeared at the same time. You! The green-robed lady was shocked. Since you were able to discover me, I'll send you out. The 3 Dongbua Shui Ying said with a smile. For a moment, their spears danced in the air as they attacked madly. The green-robed lady immediately tried to defend herself. However, against the 3 mirage bodies that didn't care about defense, she was instantly at a disadvantage. She hurriedly transmitted her voice to the others, "Quick, help me block Dongbua. Once I die, none of you will be able to discover Dongbua's true body. At that time, he can easily conceal his true body and use his mirage body to deal with all of you." Other than the 2 deity realm experts who were using their spells to restrain Dongbua Shui from afar, no one else came to stop them. It's useless. The bloody massacre deity weapon has already fallen into the hands of one person. They are all trying to snatch it. If they come over to restrain me, I'm afraid that the person who obtained the bloody massacre deity weapon will be able to escape. The 3 Dongbua Shui Ying said at the same time. At the same time, their spears pierced into the green-robed lady's shoulder. Although I'm a huge threat, they have to get rid of the expert who obtained the deity weapon first. Damn it! Damn it! The green-robed lady gritted her teeth in anger. Her shoulder exploded, and fresh blood splattered everywhere. She understood. Dongbua Shui Ying's words were right. The bloody massacre deity weapon was too attractive. Everyone had to stop the person who obtained the deity weapon. Otherwise, once the person escaped, it would be hard to get it back. I admit defeat. I give up. The green-robed lady said anxiously. Pu, peng. A spear pierced into her chest, causing the heavily injured green-robed lady's body to explode. She immediately dissipated into nothingness. She had been eliminated. What a pity. I don't dare to believe you. The 3 Dongbua Shui Yings turned their heads at the same time. In the distance, the man wielding the blood-red scimitar was fighting with all his might. The other deity realm experts were also attacking and snatching the deity weapon. Not good. Dongbua has already killed Qin. The others were shocked. Earlier, they had planned to snatch the deity weapon and escape while Dongbua Shuiying and Qin were fighting. What a pity. You guys are slower than me. The 3 Dongbua Shui Yings laughed at the same time. Following which, they disappeared. When they reappeared, they were already beside the man wielding the blood-red scimitar. No matter how many weapons were attacking them, the 3 Dongbua Shui Yings only focused on attacking the man wielding the blood-red scimitar, ignoring all other weapons. The green-robed lady was already dead. But now, none of these opponents had discovered his true body. Since Dongbua Shui Ying's safety was no longer threatened, he was naturally willing to risk everything to snatch the deity weapon. Damn it, damn it. The man wielding the blood-red scimitar was extremely anxious. He was already having a hard time holding on. Now that he was surrounded by 3 Dongbua Shui Yings, he was starting to get hit. I don't want it anymore. You guys go snatch it. He immediately threw the blood-red scimitar in his hand. South, the 3 Dongbua Shui Yings followed suit. 2 of the Dongbua Shui Yings blocked the other deity experts, while the last Dongbua Shui Ying's right hand reached out and grabbed the blood-red scimitar. The black-armored man was proficient in spatial techniques. He was able to throw the blood-red scimitar far away in an instant, and its trajectory was hard to track. However, this man wielding the scimitar was clearly weaker, allowing Dongbua Shuiying to lock onto its trajectory. Ha ha ha. As he grabbed the blood-red scimitar, he could immediately feel the terrifying power contained within it. This was a deity weapon personally forged by His Majesty. Even though it was of a lower quality, even a stage 1 world deity would die from a slight scratch. In Dongbua Shuiying's hands, the blood-red scimitar immediately transformed into a blood-red spear. The 3 Dongbua Shui Yings laughed out loud, each of them wielding a blood-red spear. 3 blood-red spears. For a moment, the other 10 deity experts could not tell which one was the real bloody kill deity weapon. Clearly, the Mirage deity heart had reached such a level that its ability to disguise itself was extremely high. Those who block me, die. The 3 Dongbu Shui Yings looked around. The 10 deity experts looked at each other. Almost instantly, they began to scatter and escape without hesitation. Dongbua, consider yourself lucky. Ruthless. Admirable. The black-armored man, who had been waiting for an opportunity, shook his head when he saw Dongbua Shuang obtain the bloody kill deity weapon. Without hesitation, he turned and rushed out of the mountain, leaving quickly. Now, no one could find Dongbua Shui Ying's real body. How could he fight against the 3 mirage bodies wielding the bloody kill deity weapon? They could not tell which one was the real bloody kill deity weapon. The mirage bodies did not need any defense. How could they fight? If they continued fighting, they would only be defeated by Dongbua Shui Ying one by one. The chances of them snatching the deity weapon was very slim. The battle was intense. On Dongbua Shui Ying's side, because Dongbua had a mirage body, and the other side could not find Dongbua Shui Ying's real body, they retreated in the face of overwhelming odds. On the other hand, the other side was in a much more desperate situation. When one died, everyone would surround and attack the other who had obtained the bloody kill deity weapon. In the end, only one managed to escape. Just fighting for the bloody kill deity weapon, over 80 deity experts had lost their lives in the mountain range. We got the bloody kill deity weapon. Dongbua, well done. The Xia people, as well as Jing Qiu, raised their heads in excitement. TSK, TSK, TSK. My brother Dongbua is really amazing. The more dazzling he is, and the younger he is, the more powerful existences will take notice of him. The White Sand City Lord drank his wine and praised, when the time comes, there will be more powerful existences willing to take him as a disciple. I really wonder which powerful existence my brother will take him as after the Bloodshed God Palace battle is over. Chapter 473. On the Myriad Flower Feast, the powerful existences were exchanging toasts and chatting while watching the Bloodshed God Palace battle. This kid named Dongbua only cultivated for 2,300 years or so, yet he already has such strength. If I give him some pointers, he will definitely be able to attain a grade 1 deity heart within 10,000 years. Moreover, even a fool would know how many grade 2 deity hearts he is proficient in. I can guide him to grasp the 4 grade 1 deity hearts of world, chaos, extremity, and spacetime. A tall and sturdy almighty with a huge head was beaming with joy as he watched. Furthermore, from the intelligence reports, his growth in his hometown, the Xia people's world, shows that he really values friendship and righteousness. I, the old ancestor, like this kind of disciple who values friendship and righteousness. Where else can I find such a good disciple? I have to think of a way to get my hands on him. This powerful being's name was Fierce Tyrant, but he was usually addressed as Forefather Fierce Tyrant. His background was not ordinary, and in terms of foundation, he was much stronger than Chihua Laozu and Sacred Master Crimson Dust. Since Forefather Fierce Tyrant was a being from the Divine World, he was also one of the Fierce Five of the Divine World. One had to know that the leader of the 5 Banes of the Immortal World was one of the 3 Patriarchs, Pang Yi. The 5 Banes of the Immortal World took good care of one another. Besides that, Forefather Fierce Tyrant was rumored to have the worst comprehension ability of the Fierce Five. Back when he was a Stage 4 world deity, he had been captured by one of the 3 ancestors, the Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Master, and used as a mount. The Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Master had also imparted him a secret technique and guided him in his cultivation. Under the guidance of the Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Master, Forefather Fierce Tyrant had actually become an almighty expert. As a result, Forefather Fierce Tyrant had a strong backing. He was one of the 5 fierce beasts of the Divine World, and he was also the mount of the Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Master. Moreover, Forefather Fierce Tyrant was famous for his shielding of his disciples. Normally, almighty existences would allow their disciples to fight outside. Even if they died, they could only blame it on their own incompetence. However, Forefather Fierce Tyrant was too protective of his disciples, so when others heard that he was Forefather Fierce Tyrant's personal disciple, no one dared to provoke him. Because Forefather Fierce Tyrant would not care about his reputation and stand up for his personal disciple. However, it was precisely because Forefather Fierce Tyrant was overly protective of his disciples that he ended up becoming Stage 3 world deities despite having 5 personal disciples. There wasn't even a single Stage 4 world deity. With his reputation, Forefather Fierce Tyrant looked down on those with weaker talents. Those with extremely high innate talents would usually become the disciples of other powerful existences. Very few would choose to become the disciple of Forefather Fierce Tyrant because there was a rumor going around in the outside world. This Forefather Fierce Tyrant is too bad at teaching disciples. He hasn't even produced a Stage 4 world deity. Back then, he became an almighty because of the Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Master's guidance. Otherwise, it would have been very difficult for him to become an almighty. Such a good disciple, I must get my hands on him. Forefather Fierce Tyrant stared at Dongbui Shuang. Except for Forefather Fierce Tyrant, there were still quite a few who had their eyes on Dongbui Shuang. These powerful existences were all very sharp, and they could all see through Dongbui Shuang's potential. This was a good disciple who could become a Stage 3 world deity with just a bit of nurturing, and even had a chance of becoming a Stage 4 world deity. Manor Lord, Manor Lord. Forefather Fierce Tyrant started chatting with a man beside him. This man was dressed in a luxurious purple robe, and he was rather handsome. His eyes were long and narrow, and his gaze was as sharp as a blade. There was a faint crack in the center of his forehead, which contained a faint golden light. He looked at Forefather Fierce Tyrant and asked, "Fierce Tyrant, what's the matter?" He, Manor Lord. Forefather Fierce Tyrant immediately said, "Does Manor Lord intend to accept a disciple in this Bloodshed God Palace battle?" "I have no such plans." The Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Master's long and narrow eyes looked at Forefather Fierce Tyrant. "To me, accepting a disciple is meaningless. If I can take that step, I will be able to fight against God Emperor. If I can't, I will only stop here. As for accepting a disciple, it's completely useless." Forefather Fierce Tyrant nodded repeatedly. He had once served as a mount for the Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Master, so he was very clear about how arrogant and domineering the Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Master was. The Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Master was not very enthusiastic about teaching disciples, and he would only accept one if he found one pleasing to the eye. Even if Manor Lord doesn't want to accept a disciple, I do intend to. I fancy a little fellow, and I really want to take him as a disciple. I feel that I can teach him to become a Stage 4 world deity, Forefather Fierce Tyrant said. "You want to accept a disciple, but you came to me instead?" The Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Master looked at him, the corner of his mouth curling up. "What's the matter? Just say it." Forefather Fierce Tyrant laughed mischievously. "The Prefecture Master is indeed the Prefecture Master. You should know that my reputation as a disciple isn't too good. Up until now, I haven't even managed to teach a Stage 4 world deity. There are definitely quite a few people who want to take Dongbui Shuang as a disciple. Even if I'm willing to accept him, it's very likely that he'll end up becoming a disciple of some other powerful existence. That's why I'm hoping for the Prefecture Master to help me out. If he becomes my personal disciple, he'll be considered your disciple, right? At that time, I hope that Manor Lord will nod and give this little fellow the opportunity to enter your violet bamboo sea to cultivate." The Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Master looked at him. Forefather Fierce Tyrant gave a simple and honest smile. "No matter what, you are an almighty. How can you be so shameless?" The Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Master shook his head lightly. Forefather Fierce Tyrant was one of the 5 fierce beasts of the immortal world. Naturally, he was more tyrannical and ruthless than the average almighty existence. However, his temper was better than most almighty existences. "Manor Master, it's rare for me to see such a good disciple," Forefather Fierce Tyrant hastily said. "All right, I promise you. Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Master nodded lightly. Huh. Thank you, Manor Lord. Thank you, Manor Lord. With Manor Lord's words, I have confidence in this disciple. Forefather Fierce Tyrant was filled with anticipation. The Bamboo Mountain Manor Master said, if His Majesty, the Overlord of Destruction, or Pang Yi were to ask, I'm afraid you wouldn't be able to snatch this disciple. If they speak, then I have nothing to say. Forefather Fierce Tyrant said confidently, let's not talk about His Majesty. Even if it were an absolute transcendent with a grade 1 true meaning, His Majesty would be too lazy to accept him. Not to mention Big Brother Pang Yi. Let him teach. Back then, he had taken in 108 disciples in one go. Since then, after a long time, he had only taken in 2 disciples. It was very difficult for him to take in any more disciples. The Overlord of Destruction also hasn't accepted a disciple for many years. Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Master nodded. The 3 ancestors placed more importance on their own cultivation. The stronger they were, the less they cared about taking in disciples. After all, their own bodies were the foundation. Only occasionally, when they met a junior they liked, would they be willing to give them a few pointers. For instance, the leader of the Fierce Five, Pang Yi, had once taken in 108 disciples in one go after comprehending a certain secret technique. Furthermore, he had taught them all seriously. Under normal circumstances, the chances of them taking in disciples were very low. On the contrary, ordinary powerful existences were more willing to take in disciples. The powerful existences were watching from afar. The Bloodshed God Palace battle was still going on intensely. The descent of the Bloody Slaughter deity warriors had increased the intensity of the battle. Some deity experts could easily die in the battle. After all, the Bloody Slaughter deity warriors were too frightening. 150, 120, 180, amidst the mountain range, the number of deity experts remaining was decreasing rapidly. The reason for this decrease was due to the slaughter. The other reason was the rate at which venomous insects were being born. Venomous insects were already very powerful, and killing one was not an easy task. Those without the Bloody Slaughter deity warriors could easily lose their lives if they were surrounded by 2 or 3 venomous insects. However, it was different for those with the Bloody Slaughter deity warriors. The more venomous insects they produced, the faster they could kill. They could kill venomous insects in a single move. Other than the 7 with grade 1 deity hearts, there were a few others who were also quite dazzling. One of them was Dongbua Shuang. Dongbua Shuaying's mirage secret skill was truly heaven-defying to be able to summon 3 mirage bodies. This was a supportive secret skill. In terms of offense, Dongbua Shuaying was originally somewhat lacking. His offensive power was even weaker than Drunk Guest's. However, with the Bloody Slaughter deity warriors, Dongbua Shuaying's weakness in offense was immediately made up for. The mirage bodies were also immortal. The Mirage bodies and the Bloody Slaughter deity warriors were a perfect match. Especially when the 3 Mirage bodies each held a blood-colored divine spear, making it hard for enemies to distinguish the real from the fake. Currently, there are only 75 people still fighting in the mountain range, and I'm currently ranked 11th. Dongbua Shuang was in a relaxed mood, in other words. I'll definitely be able to enter the top 100. And then Dongbua Shuaying's expression suddenly changed. Suddenly, 3 figures appeared from the edge of the mountain range. All 3 of them were wielding the Bloody Slaughter deity warriors. It's the 3 of them. Dongbua Shuang was very clear about the rankings of these 3 experts. They were ranked 9th, 15th, and 18th respectively. In terms of direct combat strength, any one of them was not any weaker than him. Logically speaking, the 3 of them would definitely be able to enter the top 100 as well. Why would they surround and attack him? Among the 3 of them, an ugly man wielding a blood-colored curved blade coldly said, "Calm Sea Prefecture's Dongbua, it's rare for a brat like you who has only cultivated for 2,000 years to have such strength. However, I'll let you know that you're still far from being able to kill me in a direct confrontation. You have 2 choices now. The first is to flee and be surrounded by us. The second is to fight me one-on-one. My two companions won't attack you for the time being. Chapter 474. Hua. White fog surrounded the mountain, and at the center of the three Dongbush Shuayings, another Dongbush Shuaying appeared. The four of them looked at the ugly man wielding a blood-colored scimitar and softly said, "Wan Jiao of the Milky Way Prefecture." "That's me." The corner of the ugly man's mouth curled up. Wan Jiao was the champion of the Milky Way Prefecture ranking battle and survival battle among the 19 prefectures of the Bloodshed God Palace. "In a duel, regardless of who dies, my two companions will not act again," the ugly man said, his eyes filled with anticipation. His eyes were filled with anticipation. He was currently ranked 9th in the Bloodshed God Palace battle, and there were only 70 or so deities still alive. It was without a doubt that he would be ranked in the top 100, but there were only 23 powerful existences in the Bloodshed God Palace, including His Majesty and the three ancestors. Even if these powerful existences took the initiative to accept disciples, they would only take 8 to 10 of them. What about the others? As long as they were ranked in the top 100, even if they were not taken as disciples, His Majesty would order the powerful existences to assign 4 or 5 disciples to 5 or 6 of them. The deity experts who were assigned would usually not receive much attention from the powerful existences. They would only be taught a little, and only when the powerful existences truly liked them would they be more diligent in teaching them. Whether they were diligent or not, would make a huge difference. Thus, Wan Jiao had long since decided that he would first secure a spot in the top 100, then make himself as dazzling as possible so that the powerful existences would notice him. Thus, he began to carry out his plan. First, he had successfully seized the Bloody Slaughter deity weapon, and his ranking was also at the top. He had even seized a second Bloody Slaughter deity weapon with his own strength and gifted it to a deity expert who was on par with him. He then instructed, "I'll give you the Bloody Slaughter deity weapon and help you get into the top 100. However, you'll have to listen to my commands in the Bloodshed God Palace battle." The other party did not have a deity weapon and was not confident of entering the top 100, so he naturally nodded. Thus, Wan Jiao relied on this method to get 2 deity experts to follow him. These 2 were currently ranked 15th and 18th. Both were guaranteed to enter the top 100. "I've relied on my own strength to help other deities enter the top 100. I'm afraid I've already attracted the attention of some powerful existences." Wan Jiao was secretly looking forward to it. "But this isn't enough. I still have to fight one-on-one and kill the God-tier expert who attracts the most attention from the Almighties. This way, more Almighties will pay attention to me." Who was the most attractive to powerful beings? Wan Jiao chose Dongbush Shuang and said, "This Dongbu's strength is close to mine, and he is too young. He has only cultivated for 2,000 years. In this Bloodshed God Palace battle, the degree to which he attracted the attention of powerful existences is probably one of the best. Moreover, I have confidence in dealing with him. He's the one." Therefore, Wan Jiao chose Dongbush Shuang and surrounded Dongbush Shuang with his 2 companions. The other 2 did not need to participate in the battle. After all, surrounding and killing Dongbush Shuang would not reveal his true strength. The other 2 were there to intimidate Dongbush Shuang, so that Dongbush Shuang would not dare to run away. If he did, he would be surrounded and attacked. The 2 companions he chose were people whose strength was close to his own. It was just that they were unlucky and did not manage to obtain a Bloody Slaughter deity weapon. He felt that with the 3 of them surrounding Dongbush Shuang would make a wise decision. One-on-one. The 4 Dongbush Shuang looked at Wan Jiao. "You and I, we will fight to the death?" "Yes." Wan Jiao's eyes were cold. "As you wish," the 4 Dongbush Shuang said at the same time. "Come." As expected of the Calm Sea Prefecture's Dongbua. What courage! Wan Jiao was inwardly delighted. He was afraid that Dongbush Shuang would run away. If that happened, the 3 of them would be able to surround and kill Dongbush Shuang, but he could not reveal any of his abilities. Wan Jiao stood in the distance. Suddenly, his figure blurred and split into two. Two Wanjiu stood side by side, each holding a pair of blood-red curved blades. Mirage Deity Heart? Dongbua Shuang said with a smile. My mastery of the Mirage Deity Heart is not as good as yours, so I can only form a mirage body. The two Wanjiu spoke at the same time. But can you tell which one is the real one? Which one of these four curved blades is the real bloody slaughter deity weapon? As soon as he finished speaking, the world around him began to distort as a formless energy filled the entire mountain. Whoosh! Whoosh! The two Wanjiu charged at him at the same time. The four Yings charged forward at the same time. It's just that under the unseen quagmire, their speed had slowed down. This Dongbua Shuang is most proficient in mirage secret techniques. Secondly, he has the star deity heart and some other techniques, but in front of my domain, his speed is greatly reduced. Even the four of them combined might not be able to defeat me. Wanjiu was brimming with confidence. The two of them began to fight. Everything went according to Wanjiu's wishes. Because Dongbua Shuang had already attracted the attention of some powerful existences, their battle also attracted the attention of some powerful existences. Interesting, this Wanjiu can actually make the other two listen to his orders, and the other two are so obedient as well. Wanjiu previously gave the other two a bloody slaughter deity weapon each. He's quite good at robbing. He has a mirage body and is proficient in domain-type secret techniques. His close combat skills are formidable as well. Other than the 7 grade 1 deity hearts, I'm afraid not many can defeat him. Wanjiu had indeed begun to cause some of the powerful existences to click their tongues in admiration. All of them understood what this Wanjiu was thinking. The only pity was that Wanjiu had already cultivated for 890,000 years. He had cultivated for quite a long time. Looks like Dongbua is in danger. This battle is uncertain. His only chance of victory is his 3 mirage bodies. If he goes all out, he might be able to win. If he doesn't go all out, he will definitely lose. From the looks of it, even Dongbua and the other 3 combined might not be able to defeat him. The various deities of the Xia people were also anxious. High up in the sky, in the mountain range, Dongbua Shuang and Wanjiu were fighting. Although Dongbua Shuang had 4 bodies, including his true body, he was indeed at a disadvantage. Wanjiu's 2 bodies were enough to suppress him. Hua! The saber light instantly sliced through everything. Wanjiu's saber was extremely powerful. It was extremely fast. His defense was also watertight. His surroundings were like a swamp, causing Dongbua Shuang's speed to be slightly slower than usual. Although he was slightly slower, in a battle of this level, he was at a complete disadvantage. What a powerful saber technique! Dongbua Shuang exclaimed in his heart, it's even more powerful than Drunk Guest. This Wanjiu is indeed the #1 deity of the Tianhe prefecture. Wanjiu. He was only a step away from grasping the complete world deity heart and creation deity heart. His attainments in the profound mysteries of the world and creation deity heart allowed him to create a perfect saber technique of his own. His saber technique was a world of its own, almost flawless. Moreover, the profound mysteries of creation also made his saber technique extremely powerful. Furthermore, he had created his own domain-type secret technique, which already had the taste of a world. Domain-type secret technique, suppression. His true body and mirage bodies working together. A near-perfect saber technique for close combat. Clang, clang, clang. Although Dongbua Shuang and the other 3 joined forces, it was still difficult for them to break through the defense of Wanjiu's saber technique. Your only chance of victory is to rely on your 4 bodies to fight. 3 of the bodies are not afraid of any damage, but if you go all out, a flaw will appear in your defense, and I might be able to kill your main body. Wanjiu's voice directly penetrated the mind of every Dongbua Shuang. His cold eyes were filled with passion. He was purposely trying to tempt Dongbua Shuang. The saber technique displayed by his arc-shaped saber was like a beautiful sphere that formed a world of its own. It was almost flawless. Let's go all out. The four Dongbua Shuang became even more frenzied. Yes, yes, yes. Come, come, come. Wan Jiao did not stop talking. The entire battle was under his control. Dongbua Shuang disregarded his defense and counterattacked. Although the mirage bodies did not care about being slashed, the terrifying might of the arc-shaped saber still forced the mirage bodies to retreat. This made it easier for Wan Jiao to attack Dongbua Shui Ying's true body. Star. Chapter 475. Boom boom boom. Both of them fought even more ferociously. Dongbua Shuang occasionally managed to stab Wan Jiao with his spear, but those were only his mirage bodies. Clearly, Wan Jiao had purposely allowed Dongbua Shuang to stab him. Pooh! The spear was like a venomous snake, retracting after a stab. The two Wan Jiao clones stopped immediately, and one of them dissipated. Only Wan Jiao was left standing in midair. His eyes were filled with disbelief as he stared at Dongbua Shuang. How could you? Your saber art is not perfect enough, right? My luck is better than yours, Dongbua Shuang said. Wan Jiao's eyes were filled with unwillingness. Not perfect enough. Better luck? That's right. After all, he had yet to grasp the true world deity heart. Although his saber art was said to be a world of its own, it had yet to reach this stage. Just a little bit more, just a little bit more. Wan Jiao was frustrated. If he could defeat Dongbua Shuang one-on-one, that would be the best outcome. Although he would attract the attention of some powerful beings, this battle was probably just a stepping stone for Dongbua Shuang. Then, Wan Jiao's body dissipated. His consciousness returned to him. When the other two companions saw this scene, they shook their heads inwardly. Brother Wan Jiao thought that he could win. Unfortunately, he almost lost. Dongbua Shui Ying's four bodies gave it his all, and he finally had a chance to win. The two companions left immediately. They were only here to abide by the oath. Dongbua Shuang shook his head and smiled as he watched the two leave. This Wan Jiao is really powerful. But he doesn't know that I have already grasped the complete world deity heart, and have created many secret skills based on the world deity heart. My understanding of the world deity heart is many times more profound than his. Shuang sighed inwardly. I can see through the flaws of his so-called world of blade technique with a single glance. It's just that I've always been looking for an opportunity, a reasonable opportunity to break this blade technique. Shuang sighed inwardly. Let the mirage body go all out and attack head-on to destroy the opponent's saber technique. Then, when there's an opportunity, stab with your spear. The Lord of White Sand City raised his head to look at the illusionary image of the majestic mountains in the sky. We really won. Dongbua Shuang might have discovered some flaws in his opponent's saber technique during the life and death battle. If you can win, you will be able to prove your strength. The Ink Cloud City Lord praised. Dongbua Shuang would not admit defeat so easily. Wan Jiao wanted to shine even brighter. He wanted a powerful being to take him in as a disciple. Dongbua Shuang also had his own goals. He wanted His Majesty or the third ancestor to accept him as a disciple. Naturally, he could not be defeated so easily. Who? Dongbua Shuang walked through the mountain range. With a single step, he activated extreme travel and killed a venomous bug. With each kill, Dongbua Shui Ying's ranking rose. He even rose to the 9th rank, and occasionally, he would even reach the 8th rank. However, the other surviving deity experts were also very powerful. Even so, Dongbua Shuang was still hovering around the 8th to 10th rank. The number of deity experts in the mountain range decreased. 60, 50, Dongbua Shui Ying's expression changed. This was because he could sense a figure stealthily sneaking past the barrier of the distant mountain. Even though he had turned his line of sight, Shuang could still clearly see the other party's appearance with his mirage domain. White robes, white hair, and fluttering white eyebrows, it was Jiu Shi. It's you again. Without hesitation, Dongbua Shuang switched to his mirage body and fled. Suppress. Shatter. As Jiu Shi chased after him, he also used his domain-type technique. But the time-immemorial body's survivability was too powerful. Even though it was only at the 3rd level, it was not something Jiu Shi could crush to death with a single domain-type technique. So. Dongbua Shuang frantically fled. He had never thought of displaying his grade 1 deity heart in the Bloodshed God Palace battle. The moment he did so, the enemy of his master, Sacred Master Crimson Dust, would likely disregard his reputation and attack him. After all, grasping a grade 1 deity heart in just 2,300 years, this was the talent of a grade 1 true meaning transcendent. Thus, he would rather die than expose himself. By the time he became a stage 2 world deity, there wouldn't be much of a problem. At that time, only Blood Blade, the Temporal Island Lord, and a few others could kill him without the help of an oath. Existences at such a level would disdain to act. By the time he became a stage 3 world deity, even God Emperor and the others wouldn't be able to kill a lord of a material world. Thus, he needed to be patient. Only with sufficient patience would he be able to shine brilliantly in the future. Jiu Shi, is there really a need for you to chase after me like this? Dongbua Shuang was speechless. He continued to pass through mountain after mountain. Shua. Just as he passed through the barrier of a mountain, a white-haired fat old man appeared. Shou. A dazzling ray of light streaked across Dongbua Shuaying's body. This is a grade 1 deity heart. Dongbua Shuaying's eyes widened as he stared at the white-haired fat old man. This fat old man was the champion of the 9 rigid manners ranking battle, Monarch Yu. It was said that his original title was Emperor Yu, but in the deity world, those who dared to call themselves emperors were all extraordinary existences. Thus, he immediately changed his title to Monarch Yu. Monarch was more reserved than emperors. I haven't been in a rush to use it, but now it's time to do so. I've chosen you, Dongbua. The fat old man smiled. Clearly, if he wanted to kill someone, he would kill the one who attracted the attention of the powerful existences the most. Dongbua Shuaying's body dissipated, and his consciousness returned. South Jiu Shi chased after him. Looking at the fat old man, he sneered, I really didn't expect you to also have a grade 1 deity heart. If not for Dongbua, you would have probably been hiding your strength in the Calm Sea Prefecture. With a flip of his hand, the fat old man took out a blood-colored dagger and smiled sinisterly. How about it? Why don't we have a spar? Then let's see how strong you are. Jiu Shi's eyes were filled with killing intent. Dongbua Shuaying's consciousness returned. By the time he returned to the outermost region of the Myriad Flower Feast, almost all of the 1,000+ deities had returned. Only 30 or so deities were still fighting. Brother Dongbua, I didn't expect that you would actually be ambushed by someone with a grade 1 deity heart. 7th Mayu, who was standing not too far away, laughed. That's right. That Lord Yu is truly sinister. He should have long since discovered that Jiu Shi was chasing after me, so he waited for a long time, and ambushed me the moment I passed through the mountain barrier. Dongbua Shuang shook his head helplessly. He was too young, and he had attracted the attention of many powerful existences. Many of them wanted to kill him in order to attract their attention. They had only exchanged a few words. Because they were both from the Calm Sea Prefecture, Jiu Shi, who was seated very close to him, also regained consciousness. Jiu Shi, you actually lost? Dongbua Shuang intentionally said. Humph, Jiu Shi's face turned ashen. He had fought against Lord Yu one-on-one, and yet he had lost. He had a boundless deity heart, so logically speaking, the chances of him losing should be very low. However, in a battle, he still had to use it. What a sinister old man. Jiu Shi fiercely glared at the deity experts still fighting amidst the mountain range. Lord Yu was one of them. Suddenly, a world deity guard of the Bloodshed God Palace walked over from afar, immediately attracting the attention of a large group of deity experts. This was because a world deity guard walking over at this moment would usually come to present a token. A powerful existence would take the initiative to bestow a token to a deity expert, and it represented that the powerful existence was willing to accept a disciple. This was taking the initiative to accept a disciple, which was extremely rare. The number of myriad flower feasts that could make a powerful existence take the initiative to accept a disciple could be counted on one's fingers. Who's it for? He's walking over here, towards me. Many deity experts were nervously watching. They were all longing for a disciple, and even those ranked outside the top 100 were longing for one. After all, even if one was ranked near the bottom, if a powerful existence took the initiative to accept a disciple, one would still be able to become a disciple. Take Dongbua Shui Ying for example. He had only cultivated for 2,000 years, and the White Sand City Lord and the others had already said that as long as one participated in the Bloodshed God Palace battle, even if one wasn't ranked within the top 100, one would definitely be chosen as a disciple. Dongbua. The dark-skinned world deity guard smiled and handed a golden token to Dongbua Shui Ying. Chapter 477. The world deity guard handed over the command token and left, leaving the other 1,000 or so deities watching helplessly. Becoming a disciple of a powerful existence? That was difficult. Even if one could participate in the Bloodshed God Palace battle and become a Stage 1 world deity in the future, even powerful existences would look down on such a person. The powerful existences of the Bloodshed God Palace would be assigned a few disciples each time they participated in the Myriad Flower Feast. These disciples were not actively accepted as disciples, and the disciples they were assigned to would not be too serious about teaching them. They would just casually give them a few pointers, 2 or 3 world deity-ranked secret techniques, 1 or 2 treasures, and that would be it. Even so, the majority of deities could not hope for such a thing. That was why Sacred Master Crimson Dust was willing to open the doors to countless deities and demigods to challenge Crimson Rock Mountain. After passing the trials, they would become honorary disciples and obtain world deity-ranked secret techniques. This was definitely a very benevolent act. Brother Dongbua, congratulations, 7th Mayu said from the side. However, there was a hidden desire in his eyes. He, too, wanted to receive the command token. His luck had been bad, and he had not even entered the top 100. Humph, the other Jiu-Shi snorted coldly. Dongbua Shui Ying looked at Jiu-Shi and inwardly muttered, this cultivation strength has nothing to do with one's personality. This narrow-minded person who seeks revenge for the smallest grievance has actually cultivated the boundless deity heart. Cultivation was about comprehending the laws of the world. The laws of the world were dark, cruel, and destructive. Perhaps those with evil personalities were more suited to comprehend them. Wang, Dongbua Shui Ying held the golden command token and sent his consciousness into it. He immediately received a message, Guzong, am willing to accept you as my personal disciple. That was the message. Dongbua Shui Ying let out a sigh of relief inwardly. At least there was a powerful existence willing to accept him as a personal disciple. Dongbua, who is it? 7th Mayu asked curiously. It's the powerful existence Guzong, Dongbua Shui Ying replied. Monarch Guzong. He is the most beloved disciple of His Majesty God Emperor. 7th Mayu exclaimed, Monarch Guzong is the most low-profile powerful existence within the Bloodshed God Palace. However, he is one of the 2 disciples of His Majesty, and His Majesty will naturally focus on grooming him. According to what my father said, the few times he has acted, he is extremely formidable. His combat power is hard to fathom, and he might even be close to the 3 ancestors. Dongbua Shui Ying nodded. Monarch Guzong was the personal disciple of His Majesty Blood Blade. However, Monarch Guzong had a problem, he was too low-key. He had been described by 7th Mayu as the most low-profile member of the Bloodshed God Palace, and it was no exaggeration. Ever since he had become a powerful existence, he had become even more low-profile, and had never left the territory of the Bloodshed God Palace. He had practically been cultivating in his territory all this time. Monarch Guzong has become a powerful existence for more than 100 billion years. Occasionally, he would appear within the territory of the Bloodshed God Palace. Most of the time, he would remain in his territory cultivating. Dongbua Shuang mumbled inwardly, is it appropriate for him to choose such a teacher? Many deities were eliminated in the Bloodshed God Palace battle. As the number of remaining deities decreased, the number of venomous insects that were born rapidly increased. Currently, 8 to 10 venomous insects would move together, and occasionally, dozens of them would move together. Even with bloody slaughter deity weapons, it was easy for them to lose their lives. Very soon, only 5 deities with Grade 1 deity hearts were left. Those with Grade 1 deity hearts would also fight and eliminate each other. This was because the number of people remaining was decreasing. The powerful existences were also gradually giving out command talismans. Dongbua's Bloodshed God Palace battle has ended. I've heard that the powerful existences will take the initiative to accept disciples. I wonder who Dongbua will take as his disciple, the Purple Thunder Emperor said amidst the many deities of the Xia people. Regardless of who it is, it will be a disciple of a powerful existence, the slightly dispirited Scarlet Flame Emperor said. Powerful existences are different from other powerful existences. Can ordinary powerful existences compare to His Majesty? The Dragon Mountain Emperor said expectantly. In my opinion, His Majesty might take Dongbua as his disciple. His Majesty is the strongest expert in the deity world. Even those two from the Temporal Island and the Pantheon Palace are slightly weaker than His Majesty. This is publicly acknowledged. At His Majesty's level of invincibility, would he still care about teaching a disciple? Yunhai shook his head. If His Majesty takes in a disciple, then it's luck. If he doesn't, then it's normal. Let's just hope that some other powerful existence will take Dongbua as a disciple. Jing Qiu also raised her head and watched silently. Her lips curled into a smile. In this Bloodshed God Palace battle, Dongbua was already very outstanding and dazzling. Even though his ranking had fallen out of the top 10, his years of cultivation made him even more attractive to powerful existences than those with Grade 1 deity hearts. There are only a few people with Grade 1 deity hearts left in the Bloodshed God Palace battle. Dongbua's final ranking is 11th. The White Sand City Lord smiled as he stroked his beard. 8 of them have grasped Grade 1 deity hearts. This ranking is already very good. TSK, I wonder who Dongbua will take as his disciple this time. It would be great if he could become the disciple of one of the 3 ancestors. The Ink Cloud City Lord, Marshal Qin, and King Rong Hai, who were drinking with them, all smiled as they looked at the majestic main palace in the distance. 3 ancestors? That's hard to say, the Ink Cloud City Lord said. With Pang Yi's personality, it's hard for him to take in disciples. The Overlord of Destruction has a long lifespan, and he has 5 powerful existences among his disciples. He is also too lazy to take in disciples. The Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Master has a proud and aloof personality, so he rarely takes in disciples, Marshal Qin commented. King Rong Hai laughed. At the level of the 3 ancestors, how many of them would still care about taking in disciples? The stronger one was, the more they would not care about taking in disciples. If they were in a good mood, they would accept disciples. But if they were in a bad mood? Even if you were a Grade 1 true meaning transcendent, I would still be too lazy to accept you. So what if you were a Grade 1 true meaning transcendent? There was a high probability of becoming a Stage 4 world deity. Let alone a Stage 4 world deity, even if one was extremely lucky and had a small probability of becoming a powerful existence, the 3 ancestors wouldn't care too much about it. So what if they had another powerful existence as their disciple? They placed more importance on their own combat power, as improving their own combat power would be more helpful than teaching a powerful existence as a disciple. I've heard from some of my old brothers that 3 powerful existences have already bestowed command tokens to Dongbua. The White Sand City Lord was quite pleased with himself. At the highest point of the Bloodshed God Palace, The myriad flower feast was still ongoing. As the bloodshed god palace battle neared its end, aside from a large number of venomous insects, there were even venomous insects comparable to Stage 1 world deities. The 5 remaining deities who had grasped Grade 1 deity hearts had also died in battle. And now, powerful existences were bestowing command tokens one after another. Dongbua Shuang was still quite popular among powerful existences, and he had already received 3 command tokens. 7th Meiyu. A world deity guard walked to 7th Meiyu's side under the fiery gazes of the 1,900 deities and handed him a command token. Mine? 7th Meiyu could not believe it. She had cultivated for only a short period of 80,000 years. However, she could only be considered relatively young in the Bloodshed God Palace battle. Her ranking during the battle was only 159th. Even though she was relatively close to the top, she had still awkwardly failed to enter the top 100. Including Dongbua, there were only a total of 6 deities who had received a command token. 7th Meiyu himself could not believe that he had actually been bestowed a command token. The world deity guard left after handing over the command token. 7th Meiyu could not hide his excitement as he began to investigate the news. His father, Monarch Imo Shua, had hoped for him to become a disciple of a powerful existence, and now, it had actually come true. Brother Meiyu, congratulations, Dongbua Shuang transmitted. 7th Meiyu was truly pleasantly surprised. He looked at Dongbua Shuang beside him, his eyes filled with joy as he transmitted back, "It's the powerful existence, Monarch Mother Whirlpool." Formidable. Dongbua Shuang praised. Monarch Mother Whirlpool was a female. Her sister, a mysterious North Imperial Empress, was comparable to the 3 ancestors, and was famous for being overbearing and ruthless. Their most famous battle was during the treasure hunt on the Moon Star, where the mysterious North Imperial Empress had once fought against 9 powerful existences in a fit of rage. The 9 powerful existences were brimming with confidence even after working together, but who would have thought that the mysterious North Imperial Empress had comprehended a killing technique that made her least afraid of being surrounded? The moment she unleashed it, she killed 3 powerful existences and forced the other 6 to flee in panic. From then on, the mysterious North Imperial Empress became famous, and nobody dared to provoke her. Like the majority of powerful existences, the mysterious North Imperial Empress was free and unfettered. She had not pledged allegiance to the Bloodshed God Palace, Myriad God Palace, or the Temporal Island. Furthermore, Monarch Mother Whirlpool and the mysterious North Imperial Empress were blood-related sisters, and their relationship was extremely deep. Whoever dared to provoke her sister would definitely be killed by the mysterious North Imperial Empress. This Monarch Mother Whirlpool was similarly protective of her own, and all her disciples were female. Taking her as a teacher. Normally, powerful existences would not care about their disciples fighting and killing outside. If they died, they could only blame themselves for being too weak. After all, without experiencing true life and death tempering, how could their disciples grow? And there were a few powerful existences who were very protective of their disciples. My disciple can bully others. Others can bully my disciple, but that's not allowed. Humph, seated not too far away from Dongbua Shuang and 7th Meiyu, Shi could not help but feel even more resentful when he saw the 2 of them receiving a command token. He was a deity expert who grasped hold of a Grade 1 deity heart, yet no powerful existences had bestowed him with a command token. Star. Chapter 478. Dongbua, 7th Meiyu. Why didn't she accept me as a disciple? She felt even more resentful and unreconciled. At this time, 7th Meiyu transmitted a message to Dongbua Shuang, "Brother Dongbua, I'm ashamed that I never told you, that I'm actually disguised as a male." Ha ha ha, no wonder. Monarch Mother Whirlpool has always accepted female disciples, so why would she accept a male this time? Dongbua Shuang transmitted with a smile. Furthermore, I was curious when I found out that your father was Monarch Imo Shua. I've long heard that Monarch Imo Shua has 6 daughters, so I'm curious if the seventh has become a son. Seventh Meiyu laughed. She was also very happy. Actually, from the bottom of her heart, she would rather have a powerful existence who specialized in teaching and was stricter. A teacher who was too protective would instead have a negative impact on one's cultivation. After all, when others heard that you were a disciple of Monarch Mother Whirlpool, they would immediately keep their distance and not offend you. This would indeed save her a lot of trouble, but at the same time, she would lose a lot of experience. However, from the perspective of a daughter, her father, Monarch Mo Shui, would not be able to hold on for long. He would most likely have to seal his memories and choose to reincarnate. The chances of him awakening after reincarnating would be very low, and her father's enemies would most likely take revenge. Having a teacher who was protective of her was a good thing to her and her sisters. She transmitted a message to her father, and Monarch Mo Shui was overjoyed when he found out. What he wanted the most was for his daughter to become a disciple of a powerful existence who would protect her. However, there were only a few who would protect her, and there were only two in the Bloodshed God Palace who were the most protective. One was Monarch Mother Whirlpool, and the other was Forefather Fierce Tyrant. Forefather Fierce Tyrant was the Mount of Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Master, and also Pang Yi's brother. Furthermore, the Fierce Five of the deity world were very united. After all, there were only 5 powerful existences in the deity world, and whoever dared to bully one of them, the other 4 would not let it go. After all, their backing was very strong. That was why they had the qualifications to protect their own. Jiu Shi. A world deity guard passed the command token to Jiu Shi under the gaze of 1,900 deity experts. Jiu Shi could not hide her excitement as she accepted the call. He glanced at Dong Bo, Drunk Guest, 7th Meiyu, and a few other deity experts from the Calm Sea Prefecture, then began to sense the tokens in a rather pleased manner. After sensing it, Jiu Shi looked at Drunk Guest and said politely, "Yu Gong is willing to accept me as a disciple." Jiu Shi greets senior apprentice brother. Yu Gong accepted him as a disciple, which meant that he was an inner disciple. On the other hand, Drunk Guest was a personal disciple. This news had already spread before the Bloodshed God Palace battle. Drunk Guest frowned slightly and responded. He did not have a good impression of Jiu Shi. In the future, if senior apprentice brother has any requests, feel free to let me know. Jiu Shi will definitely do her best to complete them. Jiu Shi sent a sound transmission to Drunk Guest. Dongbua Shuang watched on in astonishment. Previously, Jiu Shi had been extremely arrogant and tyrannical, but now, he was acting so flattering in front of Drunk Guest. Although the two of them were using sound transmissions, and Dongbua Shuang had no idea what they were talking about, he could tell that Jiu Shi was incomparably polite and submissive, while Drunk Guest was treating him normally, without any of the disgust he had shown at the start. Arrogant and submissive just because you say so. This Jiu Shi, his attitude changes really quickly. Dongbua Shuang was somewhat impressed by Jiu Shi's shamelessness. Dongbua. Yet another world deity guard delivered a command token. Dongbua took the black command token. A moment later, yet another token was delivered. This made many of the deities watching this scene feel envious and jealous. They had begged for a single command token, yet Dongbua Shuang had received a total of 5. One had to know how many powerful existences there were in the Bloodshed God Palace. There were already 5 who had taken the initiative to accept him as a disciple. Dongbua Shuang picked up the final silver-white command token and sensed it. "I, Fierce Tyrant. Dongbua Shuang, I am willing to accept you as my personal disciple. I, Fierce Tyrant, might not be too good at teaching disciples, but I am not bad either. Gutsong wants to accept you as a disciple. That Gutsong has always been cultivating alone, and is extremely poor. He doesn't have any good treasures to give you. That old man Cave Swan wants to accept you as a disciple. He doesn't have any backing, and instead has enemies. It's because of those enemies that he decided to rely on the Bloodshed God Palace. Monarch Qianju. He's too inflexible, and you will definitely suffer if you accept him as your teacher. Left Palace Head. He's too eccentric and doesn't have many friends. He doesn't treat his disciples well. It's best if you become my disciple. I, fierce tyrant, will absolutely not let anyone bully my disciple. When the time comes, I will give you a precious treasure. TSK, I've refined this treasure for many years, and I feel that you are very suitable for it. Furthermore, I've already told the Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Master that you can go to his violet bamboo sea to cultivate. The Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Master's violet bamboo sea, all the inner disciples under him have to go through a trial before they have the chance to enter. You don't need to go through the trial to enter. This is my face. Rest assured, fierce tyrant, will definitely treat my disciples with care. Come, become my disciple. You will be the first stage 4 world deity disciple under me, fierce tyrant. In the future, you will even become a powerful existence. Dongbua Shuang could not help but be dumbstruck as he sensed the message. He had received a total of 5 command tokens. The other 4 powerful existences were very straightforward. They only said 1 or 2 simple sentences, such as I, Qianju, am willing to accept you as my personal disciple. Everyone was the same. After all, powerful existences had their own pride. They liked this disciple, but that did not mean they would coax him. Some powerful existences would even be very strict when teaching their disciples. When their disciples went out to experience all sorts of life and death situations, they would be too lazy to act. If they died, they could only blame themselves for not being strong enough. The majority of powerful existences were like this. This way, they would be able to train formidable experts. For example, Forefather Fierce Tyrant, the command token he bestowed contained a whole pile of information. He had even viciously belittled the other 4. Monarch Guzong. Because he was too low profile and did not go out to fight for treasures, it was not wrong to say that he was poor. But his teacher was the Blood Blade. Forefather Cave Swan. Indeed, he had joined the Bloodshed God Palace because he had an enemy, but Forefather Cave Swan was still very good at teaching disciples. Monarch Qianju. He was indeed inflexible, but Monarch Qianju was placed in an important position by the Blood Blade. Many matters within the Bloodshed God Palace were handled by Monarch Qianju and the other 2 monarchs. Left Palace Head. He was aloof, cold, and arrogant. He had high requirements for his disciples, but he was also very good at teaching disciples. Each of them had their own merits. Fierce Tyrant fiercely belittled the other 4, then took out many benefits to entice Dongbua. No matter what, Forefather Fierce Tyrant is indeed famous for being protective of his disciples. I can feel the love he has for them from this command token. Dongbua Shuang thought, his only flaw is that he isn't good at teaching disciples. Just these 5? Dongbua Shuang was still waiting. He did not make a decision because he desired the 3 ancestors more. His Majesty God Emperor did not dare to have such extravagant hopes, but it would be great if one of the 3 could accept him as a disciple. Time passed. Gradually, there were no more powerful existences bestowing command tokens. There were a total of 8 deity experts who received command tokens. Dongbua Shuang was one of them, and he received 5 command tokens. During the Myriad Flower Feast, Huiming and Chihua Laozu were also observing. Those who bestowed command tokens to junior disciple brother are Monarch Guzong, Forefather Cave Swan, Monarch Qianju, Left Palace Head, and Forefather Fierce Tyrant. There are no 3 ancestors. Huiming frowned slightly. There seems to be no movement from the 3 ancestors. Chihua Laozu shook his head inwardly. It was not just them. During the Myriad Flower Feast, the other powerful existences were also paying attention to the powerful existences from the Bloodshed God Palace accepting disciples. Bamboo Mountain, you don't plan on accepting disciples? The ruler of the Dark Abyss, who was extremely close to Blood Blade and had a towering figure and bloodthirsty eyes, asked. Being one of the supreme rulers of the Dark Abyss, his status was similar to Blood Blade's. He did not have many good friends in the entire deity world and dark abyss, and Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Master was one of them. The two had a deep friendship. Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Master was relatively handsome. His eyes were long and narrow, and his gaze was like a blade. There was a crack faintly glowing in gold between his eyebrows. He chuckled, "Big brother Nile, I've been bitterly cultivating without being able to take that step. How could I have the mood to teach disciples?" Seated at the highest position, the crimson-robed Blood Blade had a deep gaze as he looked down at the cold and arrogant male Pang Yi of the three ancestors. He was the head of the fierce five of the deity world, and his sharpness was something even His Majesty God Emperor could not conceal. Pang Yi's reputation was huge. In the distant past, when powerful existences were still rare in the deity world, Pang Yi was the most famous and terrifying deity world life form. He had killed countless people, and his ruthless name had spread throughout the deity world and dark abyss. Now that so many years had passed, Pang Yi was already very restrained. "My teacher doesn't plan on accepting disciples, and neither does Bamboo Mountain." "Pang Yi, you don't plan on accepting disciples either?" Blood Blade looked down with a smile. "Amen. My cultivation technique has yet to be perfected, and I don't wish to be distracted." Pang Yi nodded. Blood Blade nodded lightly. Hearing the conversation between God Emperor and one of the three ancestors, Pang Yi, the other powerful existences understood. In the distance, Chihua Laozu and Hui Ming were slightly disappointed. It seemed, the three ancestors were not going to accept disciples this time. However, this was normal. At the level of the three ancestors, it was rare for them to be willing to accept disciples. "Come." Blood Blade suddenly spoke. At that moment, a world deity guard hurried over and respectfully awaited orders. Blood Blade flipped his hand, and a blood-colored command token appeared in it. Star. Chapter 479. At the same time, the powerful existences and Stage 4 world deities at the scene noticed the token that appeared in the Bloodshed God Emperor's hand. Even though they were chatting and laughing previously, with their acute senses, they noticed it at the first moment. "Blood Blade, are you going to accept a disciple?" A graceful and luxurious woman seated on a throne of a similar height to the Bloodshed God Emperor asked with interest. How rare, how rare. It's been a long time since Brother Bloodshed accepted a disciple, right? Even grade 1 true meaning transcendence with extremely high talents. Brother Bloodshed rarely takes the initiative to accept a disciple. This time, he actually bestowed a command token to that disciple. "I wonder which brat will be so lucky," the towering abyss ruler said. In the entire deity world and dark abyss, there weren't many who dared to directly address Blood Blade as Blood Blade. Even the Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Master and Pang Yi had to respectfully address him as Your Majesty. As for those free and unfettered powerful existences like the famous mysterious North Imperial Empress, they had to respectfully address him as Your Majesty in front of God Emperor. Blood Blade, he was, after all, the publicly acknowledged strongest expert in the deity world. His influence in the Dark Abyss was immense, and two of the three rulers of the Dark Abyss had come to participate in this myriad flower feast. Go. Blood Blade handed the command token to the World Deity Guard beside him. Yes. The World Deity Guard respectfully took the command token and left. Everyone at the myriad flower feast was curious as to who it was that attracted Blood Blade to accept a disciple. Humph. Blood Blade looked down and chuckled, but did not elaborate. A detailed report appeared in his mind, one of the reports regarding the deities participating in the Bloodshed God Palace battle, Dongbu Shuang, born in the material world of the Xia people. At the age of 8, he and his younger brother depended on each other for survival. His two uncles took care of him. The report was extremely detailed, from Dongbu Shuaying's birth to his final participation in the Bloodshed God Palace battle. Even his battle with Xiang Pangyun, his fall into the Black Wind Abyss, and many other details were recorded. This brat is truly blessed to be able to stay together with his wife. Blood Blade thought. Talent and potential were just one aspect, But Dongbua Shuiying's past had touched his heart, which was why he had decided to accept him as a disciple. This was how God Emperor had accepted disciples. Once one became interested, they would accept a disciple. Otherwise, even a grade 1 true meaning blade would not even spare them a glance. Bloodshed God Emperor's gaze was distant, though his thoughts were drifting. A long time ago, when he was not even a transcendent yet, he had not even reached transcendent yet, he transcendent, he deity saint. His cultivation heart was incomparably firm. For the sake of cultivation, he left his true love and embarked on the lonely path of cultivation. He experienced many hardships and suffered many hardships before he was accepted into a sect. When he finally became a transcendent, he went through many trials and wasted 100 years. When he finally left the sect, he returned, but at that time, his wife was already old and frail. Blade, he wife, who, not even transcendent, his wife, who to search for treasure. Of course, a long time later, Blood Blade had unimaginable power and resurrected his wife. Even if his wife's cultivation was weak, she could not even become a transcendent by herself. Blood Blade did not hesitate to let his wife become a stage 1 world deity. Unfortunately, her spirit was not strong enough. She had been a stage 1 world deity for more than 5 billion years, but her true deity heart still collapsed. Because her realm was too low, she could not even seal her memories to reincarnate. Those who could seal their memories to reincarnate were usually stage 3 or 4 world deities. When one's true deity heart collapsed, there was no way to resurrect them. Even if one were to resurrect from the river of time, they would still have all their previous memories, and their true deity heart would collapse once more. Of course, during the long years of his wife's life, Blood Blade had accompanied her and experienced everything. I wonder who His Majesty has accepted as a disciple. We'll know once we see. As Blood Blade was recalling his deepest emotions, the other powerful existences and stage 4 world deities were paying attention to that world deity guard. The world deity guard had already walked to the outermost perimeter of the myriad flower feast, where the 1,900 deities were gathered. Another world deity guard has arrived. He's giving out a command token. I wonder who it's for. We're ranked towards the back, and we've cultivated for so long. I'm afraid our chances are slim. All of the 1,000 plus deities were looking forward to it, even though their rationality told them that their chances were slim. Even so, they still hoped for a miracle. The world deity guard walked toward the deities of the Calm Sea Prefecture. Will it be me? Jioshi's eyes brightened as he looked at the incoming world deity guard. He's coming here again. Drunk Guest was also surprised. Dongbua Shuiying, 7th Meiyu, and Jioshi. This time, there were a total of 3 people from the Calm Sea Prefecture who had received command tokens. This was a very high ratio. He's going over to Dongbua's side. Dongbua has already received 5 command tokens. Could it be for him again? Who asked him to cultivate for such a short period of time? He's only cultivated for 2,300 years. On top of that, he's very powerful. So what if he's cultivated for a short period of time? He might even be stuck at a bottleneck for tens of thousands of years. Seeing the world deity guard walk in that direction, many of the deities who knew that they had no hope of obtaining a command token lost their composure. Even they could not obtain a command token, but Dongbua of the Calm Sea Prefecture had already received 5. Who? Jiushi watched expectantly. Although Yugong accepted me as a disciple, I'm only an inner disciple. If a powerful existence were to accept me as a personal disciple, I would naturally choose a better one. An inner disciple. Drunk Guest might be younger than me, but his strength can't compare to mine. Yet, he still managed to become a personal disciple. I've cultivated the extremely rare boundless deity heart, and it's entirely possible for me to become a personal disciple of a powerful existence. Jiushi raised his head. The world deity guard walked past him, quickly arriving at Dongbua Shuiying's side. The world deity guard came to a halt. Dongbo. The world deity guard revealed a smile towards Shuiying. It was a smile filled with profound meaning. Congratulations. As he spoke, he took out a blood-colored command token. It really is him. It's Dongbua again. He already has 5 command tokens. What's the point of another one? In the end, he could only become the disciple of a powerful existence. Yet, he gave them so many command tokens, while we don't even have a single one. Sigh, truly. Many of the deities were disappointed. Although they had guessed that the World Deity Guard was heading in the direction of Dongbua Shuang, the result was still disappointing. If the deity experts were to be described as disappointed, then the stage 4 world deities and powerful existences of the Myriad Flower Feast were all astonished. Some of them were even discussing this matter. His Majesty actually chose Dongbua. The Calm Sea Prefecture Master watched as the World Deity Guard passed the command token to Dongbua Shuang. He could not help but sigh in shock. Little disciple brother has become the disciple of God Emperor. Hui Ming smiled. His smile was filled with joy. Not bad, not bad. Chihua Laozu nodded with a smile. At this moment, Dongbua Shuang was relatively calm. He had already received 5 command tokens, and this was just one more. I hope it's the 3rd ancestor. I hope it's the 3rd ancestor. I hope it's the 3rd ancestor. Dongbua Shuaying's heart was filled with hope as he took the blood-colored command token. Within the Bloodshed God Palace, scarlet or blood tokens were commonly used. He did not notice anything special about this command token. Chapter 480. Dongbua Shuang did not dare to hope that it would be His Majesty Blood Blade. He felt that it would be good enough if he could become the disciple of one of the 3 ancestors. But even if it was one of them, he had no confidence. Because according to what he knew, it was rare for existences at the level of the 3 ancestors to accept disciples. They placed more emphasis on their own cultivation. If my true body were to shout out the name of one of the 3 ancestors and tell him that I'm a grade 1 true meaning transcendent, if I reveal my strength, I might be able to become his disciple. Dongbua Shuang thought. He had only thought of this idea. After all, grade 1 true meaning transcendents were not attractive to His Majesty Blood Blade and the 3 ancestors. Only ordinary powerful existences would fight to become their disciples. If I take the initiative to shout out that I want to become his disciple, who should I choose? Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Master. If Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Master doesn't like me as his disciple. Dongbua Shuang felt that taking the initiative was not a good idea. If his teacher did not like him from the bottom of his heart, he would not have taught him seriously. He would rather become the disciple of an ordinary powerful existence who sincerely wanted to teach him than to become the disciple of one of the 3 ancestors. After all, ordinary powerful existences were existences who had transcended the river of time and the laws of the world. Their guidance was already very good. If there's no other way, I'll just choose Forefather Fierce Tyrant. Dongbua Shuang thought. Of the 5, Forefather Fierce Tyrant was the most sincere. Teaching a disciple might be slightly lacking, but it was still better than burying his head in cultivation alone. Let me see who the powerful existence who bestowed this token is. Dongbua Shuang held onto the blood-colored token and carefully sensed the message within. Are you willing to become an inner disciple of my Blood Blade sect? It was a simple sentence. Dongbua Shuang was stunned. Blood Blade's disciple? Blood Blade's disciple? Dongbua Shuang blinked his eyes. Following that, a huge wave surged in his heart. Blood Blade! He was publicly recognized as the strongest expert in the deity world. Many experts even believed that the 3 rulers of the Dark Abyss were slightly weaker than His Majesty God Emperor. Of course, this was only a guess and had not been publicly acknowledged. But no matter what, Blood Blade was indisputably one of the existences that stood at the pinnacle of the divine realm, the material realm, and the abyss. In terms of strength alone, he was probably the strongest amongst the countless powerhouses. He had truly reached the point of invincibility. Accepting a disciple no longer held any meaning to him. He did not even care about grade 1 true meaning transcendence. Become his inner disciple? Dongbua Shuang did not mind at all. This was a very normal thing to do. No matter how talented one was, they would still be considered as an inner court disciple by the God Emperor. They would have to go through the God Emperor's teachings and observation before the God Emperor would decide whether or not to accept them as his direct disciple. To be able to become God Emperor's direct disciple, all of them had to be recognized by God Emperor in terms of talent, cultivation, temperament, and so on. I can become the disciple of God Emperor. Dongbua Shuang could feel his entire body heating up. World of the Xia people, within Crimson Rock Mountain. Senior Gubai, Senior He Fei Yun, the treasure spirit Crimson Rock, the green-haired Shi Wei, Jing Qiu, and the white-robed Dongbua Shuang were all seated. Everyone was paying close attention to the news regarding the Bloodshed God Palace battle, which was why they had asked Dongbua Shui Ying's true body to come to Crimson Rock Mountain so that he could inform them at any time. Junior brother Dongbua, what's wrong? The thick-robed Senior Gubai asked with a smile. Why are you standing there in a daze? Could it be that some powerful existence has accepted you as a disciple? Could it be one of the three ancestors? The scarlet-cloaked He Fei Yun asked. Shi Wei, Crimson Rock, and Jing Qiu all looked at Dongbua Shuang. The white-robed Dongbua Shuang looked at the others, then picked up the wine flask beside him and gulped it down. This scene left Senior Gubai and the others shocked and puzzled. Dongbua Shuang put down the wine flask, his face somewhat flushed, and said, "Some powerful existence has indeed accepted me as a disciple. However, it wasn't one of the three ancestors, but His Majesty." His Majesty? His Majesty, God Emperor? Everyone was stunned. Even the experienced and knowledgeable treasure spirit Crimson Rock was dumbfounded. God Emperor? Jing Qiu, who had been listening from the side with a smile, couldn't help but click her tongue. She was very confident in her husband, but the Blood Blade had accepted him as a disciple? That's right, right? You aren't lying to us, are you? Crimson Rock asked. It's His Majesty, God Emperor. Do you think I would speak carelessly about such a matter? Dongbua Shuang shook his head. I. Crimson Rock stood up. Quick, quick, quick. Good wine, bring out the best wine you have, Senior Gubai said hurriedly. Senior He Fei Yun, who had been wearing a scarlet cloak this whole time, also stared with wide eyes. His Majesty, God Emperor, has accepted a disciple. Ha ha, God Emperor. Crimson Rock shook his head. He is the most powerful existence in the deity world, publicly acknowledged as the strongest existence. Whether it's a secret absolute art, a top-notch special secret technique, or a terrifying treasure, in short, His Majesty, God Emperor, has an unfathomable foundation. Look at the White Sand City Lord you know. Even though he was chased out of the city, his self-created secret technique is nearly invincible among Stage 3 world deities. Why was he able to create it? If not for His Majesty, God Emperor, teaching him a secret technique or two, do you think he would have such accomplishments? His Majesty, God Emperor's disciples, like Monarch Guzong, have always been incomparably low-key, spending most of their time cultivating in their lair, rarely leaving. Why is he cultivating in seclusion? According to Old Master, he is cultivating some terrifying absolute art. Where did this absolute art come from? Naturally, it was bestowed by His Majesty. Monarch Guzong rarely takes action, but many powerful existences believe that Monarch Guzang's strength is close to that of the three ancestors. Dongbua, you never had a master in the past. Crimson Rock looked at Dongbua Shuang. Old Master was your disciple, but Old Master died long ago, so I didn't receive any guidance. This time, you've truly found yourself a good master, one who stands at the peak of the deity world and abyss. There are only a few who can stand on equal footing with him. The white-robed Dongbua Shuang nodded with a smile. He was also very happy. He had never had a master to guide him, and the only reason he could cultivate to his current level was because he had immersed himself in cultivation. Now, he would finally have a powerful master. Outside the myriad flower feast, over 1,000 deities were still waiting in anticipation, hoping that they would be bestowed a token. At this time, a six-armed world deity guard walked out. Those who have received a token, choose one and refine it. The six-armed world deity guard said in a clear voice, whoever you refine will become your master. There were a total of 8 deities who had received a token. 5 of them only had a single token. Everyone immediately took out a token and began refining it. Dongbua Shuang also did not hesitate to take out a blood-colored token. He even confirmed that it contained information about His Majesty, God Emperor, before refining it as well. Those ranked in the top 100, follow me in. The 8-armed world deity guard ordered once more. Dongbua Shuang, Drunk Guest, Jiu Shi, and the rest immediately stood up. The other deities watched on enviously. They understood that these top 100 would be able to become the disciples of a powerful existence. Furthermore, they would be able to enjoy a myriad flower true fruit. One figure after another entered. 7th Meiyu was watching everything. Although she had been bestowed a token, she was not in the top 100 and could not enjoy a myriad flower true fruit. 7th Meiyu. A world deity guard walked over with a smile on his face. Monarch Mother Whirlpool has instructed me to bring you in. 7th Meiyu was startled and hurriedly stood up. Even as she walked, her appearance and clothes began to change. Although it was only a slight change, she had already transformed into a cold beauty. 7th Meiyu was also worried. After all, she was going to meet her master, Monarch Mother Whirlpool. She only accepted female disciples, so she most likely did not like males. If she continued to disguise herself as a male, she might incur the displeasure of Monarch Mother Whirlpool. She's a woman. 7th Meiyu is a woman. Some of the deities of the Calm Sea Prefecture were shocked, and the other deities who were watching this scene were equally shocked. Under the arrangements of the world deity guards, Dongbua Shuang and the rest entered in an orderly manner. The 5 of you are disciples of Forefather Long Brows. The 4 of you are disciples of Forefather Fierce Tyrant. The world deity guards began to make arrangements. A portion of those ranked in the top 100 were already disciples of powerful existences. Some were honorary disciples, while others were inner disciples. But now, they would at least be promoted to inner disciples. As for those who were not under the tutelage of powerful existences, after a simple discussion between the bloodshed god emperor and the subordinates of the powerful existences, they were divided up. Other than His Majesty and the 3 ancestors, the other powerful existences had accepted 3 to 5 disciples. At the myriad flower feast, a group of young deities began to enter. To stage 4 world deities and powerful existences, deities were indeed very young. Batch after batch entered. Disciple greets master. 5 young men and women entered the myriad flower feast's main hall. They had long since received guidance, so they immediately went in front of a long-browed man and respectfully kowtowed. Rise. The long-browed man nodded. It was a custom of the myriad flower feast for the first 100 to take on a master. Soon, another 5 people walked in. They were Drunk Guest, Jiu Shi, and 3 others. They went in front of a golden-haired, golden-browed man and respectfully kowtowed, disciple greets master. Yu Gong nodded, but did not say another word. After kowtowing, they hurriedly went to their seats. Batch after batch entered, and batch after batch started kowtowing. Dongbua still hasn't come in. Jiu Shi sat in his seat, looking at the surrounding stage for world deities and powerful existences, as well as the towering figure in front of him. Jiu Shi could not help but feel his blood boil. That was His Majesty God Emperor. Next to him was probably the ruler of the abyss. They entered in batches to take on a master. Every batch had the same master. Finally, it was Dongbua Shuaying's turn. Dongbua Shuaying was the last, and he was the only one without any companions. Dongbua Shuaying strode in. At this moment, 7th Meiyu, who was sitting behind Forefather Mother Whirlpool like a servant, looked over. Jiu Shi looked over as well. The other 99 deities in the top 100 all looked at Dongbui Shuang. The stage 4 world deities and even the powerful existences all looked at Dongbui Shuang, who was the last to enter. Some of them even shook their heads slightly, including Forefather Fierce Tyrant. Clearly, he was regretful that he did not receive such a disciple. Dongbui Shuang, who was the last to enter, walked to the front of the hall, directly facing the crimson-robed figure sitting at the highest position, who seemed to be emanating a boundless aura of destruction. He immediately knelt down and said, "Disciple greets Master." Chapter 481. This kowtow was the result of karma. The grace of imparting the Tao was as great as the heavens themselves. Countless deity experts yearned to become a disciple of a powerful existence, even dreaming of becoming a disciple of God Emperor. At the level of God Emperor, it was normal not to teach others, but to teach them with all his heart was a form of kindness. The only time Dongbui Shuang had truly kowtowed to become a disciple was Sacred Master Crimson Dust, who had taught him many world deity-grade secret techniques and bestowed him with many treasures. He had even inherited the entire Crimson Rock Mountain. Although Sacred Master Crimson Dust had died, the things he had given Dongbui Shuang were incomparably precious. If not for his training in Crimson Rock Mountain, Dongbui Shuang would not have achieved what he had today. The other was to become a disciple of God Emperor. Only His Majesty God Emperor would truly guide him. Kowtow, who is he kowtowing to? Jiao Shi and the other deity experts who had already taken their seats were all shocked. Even 7th Mayu, who was usually calm, was watching from behind Monarch Mother Whirlpool in shock. Dongbui Shuaying's figure was kowtowing to the person with the highest status in the entire Myriad Flower Feast. "You may leave," His Majesty God Emperor said calmly. Dongbui Shuang immediately stood up and respectfully retreated back to his seat. The other deity experts in the top 100 all looked at Dongbui Shuang with envy and disbelief. Becoming a disciple of God Emperor? He became a disciple of God Emperor. Dongbui Shuaying's seat was the closest to the front, close to that of stage 4 world deities. Of course, 7th Mayu did not count, as she did not even have a proper seat. She was merely a follower behind Monarch Mother Whirlpool. The Myriad Flower Feast continued. The deity experts all ate and drank in a low-profile manner. They did not dare to talk loudly like those powerful existences, and even when they spoke, they kept their voices low. They were so cautious that they only communicated with each other through voice transmissions. Dongbui. The Calm Sea Prefecture Master smiled at Dongbui Shuang. "I never thought that someone from my Calm Sea Prefecture would be able to become His Majesty's disciple." "Ha ha ha. Dongbui Shuang, right? Your luck isn't bad. His Majesty hasn't accepted a disciple in a long time. Now that he has accepted you as his disciple, you must cultivate properly and quickly grasp a grade 1 deity heart to become a world deity. Don't disappoint His Majesty. His potential is not bad." The other stage 4 world deities in the surroundings were also talking. Slightly further away, the bald white-robed youth, Ming, was watching everything with a smile, not saying a word. Dongbui Shuang lowered his stance and said, "It is my luck that Master has taken a liking to me. So what if he became His Majesty's disciple?" Over the long years, His Majesty had quite a few disciples under him. For example, the White Sand City Lord, who had been chased out of the sect, was only a stage 3 world deity. Just his identity as a disciple of God Emperor was enough for him to treat a stage 4 world deity with respect. If he were to act arrogantly and not even care about stage 4 world deities, it would truly be a joke. The Bloodshed God Palace battle has ended. Myriad Flower True Fruit, Bloodblade's voice suddenly rang out, spreading throughout the entire Myriad Flower Feast. Myriad Flower True Fruit. The eyes of Dongbui Shuang and the other deities lit up. "Brother Bloodblade, you eat the Myriad Flower True Fruit every time. Can't you exchange it for something fresh? Why don't you take out your gold tribulation fruit and let us have a taste?" Right. Brother Bloodblade, we're all sick of eating the myriad flower true fruit. As the deities at the very top spoke, Bloodblade did the same, though his voice was somewhat indistinct and hard to hear. Very soon, one after another, female attendants brought out exquisite plates, each of which was filled with a huge fruit the size of a human's head. The fruit was bright red and glistening, and there was even some dew on its surface, which gave off a fragrant aroma. There were even a few leaves on the roots of the fruit. Although they had yet to eat it, Dongbui Shuang and the others could already smell its fragrance. It was a kind of fragrance that seemed ordinary at first, but it quickly stirred up their bodies. Even their souls were filled with a desire to eat the fruit. Mayu. In the distance, Monarch Mother Whirlpool handed the plate of fruit to 7th Mayu. Master. 7th Mayu didn't dare to accept it for a moment. I've eaten it many times. It's no longer useful to me. Monarch Mother Whirlpool seemed like a kind and gentle woman, but when it came to protecting someone, she was extremely overbearing. Yes. 7th Mayu couldn't refuse, so she obediently accepted it. Her heart was filled with gratitude. By this time, Dongbui Shuang had already started eating. He wasn't the only one, the other deities had also started eating. Picking up a knife to the side, they casually cut off some of the fruit's flesh and began tasting it. So fragrant, so sweet. As Dongbui Shuang ate, he felt a sense of satisfaction that came from the depths of his heart and even his soul. This wasn't an illusion. After the flesh of the fruit entered his body, it was rapidly absorbed by his soul, causing his soul to feel a sense of emptiness. The nourishment also became more comfortable, and his soul gradually began to transform. This myriad flower true fruit was originally something that God Emperor had brought out to treat other powerful existences. It was only slightly useful to powerful existences, let alone deities. The nourishment of the myriad flower true fruit was silent. In fact, many of the energy contained within the fruit couldn't be absorbed by the soul at the moment, and was temporarily stored within the body. As time passed, the soul would gradually absorb it. Awesome! He ate without stopping, finishing the myriad flower true fruit in a single breath. Dongbui Shuang could faintly sense the energy of the fruit hidden within his body. It will gradually nourish the soul. With the strength of my avatar's soul, it will probably take me 10,000 years to absorb it. The myriad flower true fruit was a feast, and every guest of the myriad flower feast would be able to enjoy other delicacies and wine. To the powerful existences, it might just be a feast for their stomachs, but to the deities, it was a feast to their heart's content. Almost all of them were eating, occasionally conversing in a low voice or through voice transmissions. After all, their statuses were the lowest in the entire myriad flower feast. Wang, as Dongbui Shuang ate, he was also watching. The entire myriad flower feast was filled with laughter, and the powerful existences were chatting in groups of 2s and 3s, all of them in high spirits. It was rare for powerful existences to attend such a large-scale gathering. For them to participate in it, the myriad flower true fruit was probably secondary. What made them happier was being able to chat with many of their old friends. Almost all the powerful existences are chatting with each other, and very few are talking with stage 4 world deities. Dongbui Shuang had also discovered this disparity in status. If one were to say that stage 4 world deities were close in strength to powerful existences, they would still be able to chat with powerful existences. Then, deities like Dongbui Shuang and the others were not qualified to participate in such a gathering. Stage 3 world deities, Stage 2 world deities, and so on, were not qualified to attend. The only reason Dongbui Shuang and the others could attend was because of the Bloodshed God Palace battle. It could even be considered a gift from His Majesty, the God Emperor. Unknowingly, there are different levels. Dongbui Shuang thought to himself. The powerful existences are a group, and stage 4 world deities are close to them. But below that, the powerful existences do not place them in their eyes at all. Although I have become a disciple of God Emperor, and my status is considered very high among the countless deities. But compared to the true ruling class of the entire deity world, I am still just a small character. Dongbua Shuang understood this point, and at the same time, a fighting spirit rose in his heart. He had only come from the mortal world of the material plane, and he had always been cultivating blindly. But now, he had His Majesty, the God Emperor, to guide him. Dongbua Shuang was still filled with heroic spirit. Although he had never heard of God Emperor being a disciple of his, he was said to be very strict. But regarding this, Dongbua Shuang was very satisfied. Being strict was a good thing. He had always been lacking opportunities and a good teacher. This time, he had to grab hold of this opportunity. During the Myriad Flower Feast, the deity experts were very obedient and low-key. The powerful existences ate and drank for a long time, and even settled many things amidst their laughter. Finally, after they had enjoyed themselves to their heart's content, Bloodblade announced that the Myriad Flower Feast had officially come to an end. Chapter 482. How lively! Within the Bloodshed God Palace, the entrance to Dongbua Shuaying's cavern dwelling was wide open. The deities of the Xia people were all looking outside, and the place was bustling with noise. Brother Dongbua, I'll be leaving with my teacher soon. I can't stay here for long, so I'll bid my farewells here. 7th Mayu had taken on the appearance of a woman. She smiled. If there's anything, you can contact me. All right. I'll be staying in the Bloodshed God Palace for quite some time. I believe that the next time we meet, we'll both be world deities, Dongbua Shuang said. That's only natural. 7th Mayu nodded lightly before turning around and leaving. Following behind her were a few female attendants. Dongbua Shuang watched from afar. The Myriad Flower Feast had ended, and the powerful existences were about to leave. Naturally, their disciples would have to follow them. As for those God-ranked experts who were ranked at the bottom, they were usually able to become disciples of stage 4 or 3 world deities. Even if they did not accept any disciples, they would still choose to join the Bloodshed Tavern or the army. As a result, the cavern dwellings of the surrounding deities would be bustling with activity. Because he had become a disciple of God Emperor, Dongbua Shuang did not have to leave the Bloodshed God Palace. Junior disciple Brother Dongbua. On the day that the Myriad Flower Feast ended, just as he bid farewell to 7th Mayu, the bald white-robed teenager, eldest disciple Brother Huiming, arrived. Senior disciple Brother Huiming. Dongbua Shuang warmly welcomed him. Jing Qiu was by his side, and the three of them sat down. Junior disciple Brother, take this. Eldest disciple Brother Huiming waved his hand, causing a bright red fruit to appear on the stone table. Its fragrance wafted outwards. Myriad Flower True Fruit. Dongbua Shuang was startled. That won't do. This is more important to you, senior disciple Brother. I've participated in the 10,000 flower banquet too many times, and I've eaten many rare treasures. Eldest senior Brother Huiming shook his head lightly. I am currently stuck at the final step, unable to truly transcend. This Myriad Flower True Fruit is of no help to me. Not just me, but many of the powerful existences and stage 4 world deities who participate in the Myriad Flower Feast will usually bring the Myriad Flower True Fruit to their juniors. To you, the benefits of the Myriad Flower True Fruit are even more obvious in the early stages of cultivation. Senior Brother Huiming, please give this fruit to your disciple. I've already eaten one. Dongbua Shuang said. Their talents are limited. Eldest senior Brother Huiming shook his head. Ate one. If you want to eat it after tens of thousands of years, you can let your main body in the material realm eat it. Since I've given it to you, there's no reason for me to take it back. I'm here today for a more important matter. Dongbua Shuang couldn't reject it, so he accepted it and remembered this favor for the time being. More important matter? Dongbua Shuang was puzzled. Now that you have become His Majesty's disciple, it's a great opportunity for you. Eldest senior Brother Huiming said, His Majesty is very strict when it comes to teaching disciples. You should know this. And Dongbua Shuang nodded, I know. Master is very strict when it comes to teaching disciples, and the competition between disciples is extremely intense. Those who are strong and have potential will be bestowed with even better rewards. Those who perform poorly will be bestowed with worse rewards. The Blood Blade didn't treat everyone equally, even if they were all inner disciples. If the God Emperor liked them and felt that they were worth grooming, he might bestow them with treasures that would make stage 3 and 4 world deities jealous. And if the God Emperor didn't like them and felt that they had no potential, he might ignore them and not give them any treasures at all. Eldest senior brother Huiming nodded. How does the God Emperor judge whether a disciple is worth grooming or not? Do you know? Dongbua Shuang shook his head lightly. How? Personal preference? Cultivation speed? That's what I want to tell you. Eldest senior brother Huiming laughed. This can be considered a secret. Regardless of whether it's his subordinates or his disciples, the God Emperor will always secretly judge them. Whatever he asks you to do, you must do it as quickly as possible and as perfectly as possible. If you don't do it well, your position in his heart will drop. For example, if he asks you to learn a certain secret art, and you learn it too slowly, he will naturally be disappointed. After being disappointed 2 or 3 times, he will no longer care about that disciple, eldest senior brother Huiming said. Understood. Dongbua Shuang nodded. As long as it's master's orders, I will definitely do my best. Also, if we talk about the most powerful absolute arts, His Majesty has the most, eldest senior brother Huiming said in a low voice. He is even more than the Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Master. Dongbua Shuaying's eyes brightened. If His Majesty asks you to go to a certain level of the Sealed World Pagoda to learn a secret art, you must definitely learn it well. Eldest senior brother Huiming's eyes were filled with anticipation. The better your performance, the more secret arts His Majesty will allow you to learn in the Sealed World Pagoda. One day, you will discover that all the secret arts can be combined to form an extremely powerful absolute art. The absolute arts imparted by the God Emperor are something that even a personal disciple would have to go through a series of tests before they can obtain a complete absolute art. For example, an inner disciple would usually only be able to learn a few scattered parts of the absolute art. To be able to learn a complete set is extremely difficult. However, you must not give up. You must do your best. The more satisfied His Majesty is, the more he will allow you to learn. If you can learn a complete set, that would be extremely powerful. Is it very powerful? Dongbua Shuang asked. Extremely powerful. Eldest senior brother Huiming grinned. It's extremely powerful. I'm willing to give up all my treasures, even my paradise treasures, in exchange for an absolute art. Let alone me, even powerful existences, would desire to learn an absolute art. Dongbua Shuang was astonished. Even powerful existences desired it? How did the Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Master become so powerful? How could a stage 4 world deity live for so long, to the point that he was known as one of the 3 ancestors? Eldest senior brother Huiming said in a low voice, I heard that he cultivated an extremely powerful absolute art to an extremely profound level. Back then, he even wantonly spread his faith, all for the sake of this absolute art. As a result, he became entangled with karma, unable to truly transcend. Even so, he has lived longer than many powerful existences. Even powerful existences have died in battle, yet he is still alive. Furthermore, his strength is tyrannical. Ordinary powerful existences have to treat him with respect. Dongbua Shuang was astonished. Thus, no matter how great the price you have to pay, no matter how hard you work, as long as you can learn a complete absolute art, then you will truly be formidable. Eldest senior brother Huiming hurriedly said, His Majesty has many disciples under him, like the White Sand City Lord, who have only learned bits and pieces of it. Oh, right. Other than the Sealed World Pagoda, His Majesty's hidden library is also famous. Eldest senior brother Huiming said, the hidden library contains countless books, and it's said that they were all collected by His Majesty over a long period of time. Amidst the seemingly vast and complicated books, there is actually an absolute art. Of His Majesty's two powerful existence's disciples, the other one, you should know of Monarch Green, right? Dongbua Shuang nodded. Of the two powerful existence's disciples of the Blood Blade, Monarch Guzong spent most of his time in seclusion, rarely coming out. The other one, Monarch Green, was even more tyrannical. Due to some grudges, he had betrayed the Bloodshed God Palace, and his combat power was unfathomable. A long time ago, he had reached the level of the three ancestors. Currently, many powerful existences believed that Monarch Green was on the same level as the Blood Blade, the Temporal Island Lord, and the Myriad God Palace head. Monarch Green discovered an absolute art while browsing through the countless books in the hidden library, the Mountain World. Chapter 483. Dongbua Shuang. Not long after Huiming left, a world deity guard arrived at Dongbua Shuaying's abode. I'm here on His Majesty's orders. You should quickly prepare and bring your subordinates to move to the Crimson Stone Courtyard. We've already prepared and can set off at any time. Dongbua Shuang stood up. Jing Qiu, Xia people, and the other deities had also finished their preparations. Some of their belongings were in their storage treasures, and everyone had been waiting for a long time. After all, the abode of an inner disciple was completely different from that of a deity participating in the Myriad Flower Feast. Let's go. Follow me. The world deity guard nodded and led the way. Hua. The world deity guard led the way, and an invisible force enveloped the group as they quickly flew into the Bloodshed God Palace. Even though the Bloodshed God Palace was only slightly larger than the Kamsi Prefecture city, they still had to fly for more than 2 hours before they arrived at a relatively remote and quiet courtyard. Above the entrance of the courtyard were the two words in stone from the deity world. These two words faintly connected the courtyard to the entire Bloodshed God Palace, causing it to emit a thick and dense aura. Following the entrance of the courtyard, they soon arrived at a relatively simple abode that occupied an area of about 5 kilometers. Dongbua Shuang, this will be your abode. You and your subordinates will live here in the future, the world deity guard said. The detailed rules of the courtyard will naturally be informed by the attendants of the courtyard. My mission is complete, so I'll take my leave now. Sorry for the trouble. Dongbua Shuang stood up to send him off. This world deity guard was a stage 3 world deity and was most likely one of His Majesty's personal guards. You just wait here. I reckon His Majesty will summon you very soon. The Universe God Guard smiled and turned to leave. There were many servants and maids arranged within the abode, and from them, many of the rules were learned. The Crimson Stone Courtyard was a place Bloodblade often visited. All of his disciples lived there, and the rules were extremely strict. Honorary disciples, inner disciples, and personal disciples all had different areas of activity. For Dongbua Shuang, there were many places that were forbidden. They couldn't trespass. As for Jing Qiu, Yunhai, Dragon Mountain Emperor, and the others, their range of movement was even smaller. They could only walk along a corridor and enter from the back door. Inner sect disciples can have 100 personal guards. Personal guards are at the 15th rank. Dragon Mountain Emperor looked at a golden book and couldn't help but say, all of us added up to less than 100 people. Doesn't that mean we can easily get a rank? It doesn't matter if you obtain a rank or not. The Purple Thunder Emperor said, the rules within the Bloodshed God Palace are very strict. Most of the places were open to us, and no one dared to mess with us. Right now, Snow Eagle's personal guard is only at the 15th level, which is the lowest level. Once Snow Eagle completes his cultivation and finishes his apprenticeship, he will definitely obtain an official position. At that time, his personal guard's rank will be much higher. Dongbua Shuang smiled. This was the only thing he could do to improve the lives of the Xia people and the other deities. Junior brother Dongbua, teacher is calling for you. A slightly cold voice sounded from outside. It should be a woman. I'll leave first. Dongbua Shuang immediately stood up and walked out. Walking out of the cavern dwelling, he saw a gray-robed girl. She looked ordinary, but that unconcealed aura of hers allowed Shuang to determine that she was a stage 3 world deity. Junior brother Dongbua, I am also an inner disciple under teacher. My name is Gong Feng. You can just call me senior sister Gong Feng, the gray-robed woman said. Senior sister Gong Feng, Dongbua Shuang immediately said. The gray-robed woman brought Dongbua Shuang along as they walked through the courtyard. As they walked, she chatted, teacher rarely accepts disciples during the myriad flower feast. Most of the time, he travels all over the place and occasionally accepts a disciple. You were accepted as a disciple during the myriad flower feast under the watchful eyes of so many powerful existences. Teacher must be quite fond of you. Now, I'm the oldest among the inner disciples in this courtyard. That's why there are many things that teacher leaves to me. If there's anything you need, feel free to look for me. Thank you, senior sister, Dongbua Shuang said. It's just a small matter. The gray-robed woman smiled. Soon, she brought Dongbua Shuang into a garden. Within the garden, there was a lake with aquatic plants growing in it. On the ground beside the lake, the crimson-robed blood blade was sitting cross-legged. His loose robes were spread out on the ground. His eyelids were drooping, and he emitted an invisible aura that caused the entire garden to be silent. On his shoulder was a peculiar black bird. At first glance, the bird's feathers were pitch black, but upon closer inspection, one would discover that they were faintly translucent and had some inconspicuous colors. Teacher. The gray-robed woman bowed. I've brought junior apprentice brother Dongbua. Greetings, teacher. Dongbua Shuang also respectfully bowed and stood to the side. It was difficult to see Blood Blade's face clearly. He could only feel an endless darkness of destruction spreading out from him. Even though he was sitting there cross-legged, Dongbua Shuang felt like an ant looking up at a gigantic dragon. Hua! Blood Blade's drooping eyelids suddenly opened. Two rays of light shot out from his eyes, instantly shooting into Dongbua Shuang's eyes. Boom boom boom, a large amount of information poured into his mind. The world divine heart is about tolerance, like the rivers in the sea. The world-shaking voice continuously resounded in Dongbua Shuang's mind. There was too much information, and there was even a large amount of battle scenes. These were scenes of a blurry figure holding a spear in battle. Voice, scenes, words, there was too much information. After half a cup of tea's worth of time, Dongbua Shuang completely woke up. He was immediately overjoyed, as he knew that this was a very detailed guidance. It was divided into two parts. One part was the guidance of the world divine heart, and the other part was the guidance of the chaos divine heart. Thank you, teacher, Dongbua Shuang hurriedly said. You have a chance of grasping the world divine heart and the chaos divine heart. Don't overdo it, Blood Blade said indifferently. Then, he waved his hand and threw out two black tokens, which flew in front of Dongbua Shuang. Dongbua Shuang caught them and carefully examined them. These two tokens had the numbers 351 and 95 on them. These are the tokens of the sealed world tower. Blood Blade said indifferently. With these two tokens, you can enter the 95th and 351st worlds respectively to cultivate. These two worlds will be of great help to you in grasping the world divine heart and the chaos divine heart. Alright, you may leave. Yes. Dongbua Shuang was slightly bewildered. They had just met, yet he had barely exchanged a few words before being asked to leave. This master of Blood Blade was truly domineering. Dongbua Shuang immediately bowed and left the garden. Two tokens of the sealed world tower. Dongbua Shuang was quite delighted. He had chatted with eldest senior brother Huiming for a long time and knew that inner disciples usually only had a single token of the sealed world tower. It was indeed quite good for him to obtain two tokens on his first try. Furthermore, the large amount of information in his mind gave Dongbua Shuang many insights. Blood Blade's guidance was indeed much better than Monarch Mo Shue's. Inside the garden, Blood Blade was still sitting there, his eyelids drooping. Blood Blade. The black bird on his shoulder said, "Kakik, how rare. An inner disciple is directly given 2 tokens of the sealed world tower. You think so highly of him?" Blood Blade indifferently replied. "Then how long do you think it will take for him to grasp a grade 1 deity heart?" the black bird asked. "Within 1,000 years. With my guidance, the sealed world tower's assistance, and his comprehension ability, he should be able to grasp a grade 1 deity heart within 1,000 years. He should comprehend the world deity heart first, and the chaos deity heart will be slower." Blood Blade indifferently said. He slightly raised his eyelids and glanced at the gray-robed woman beside him. "Gong Feng. Disciple is here," the gray-robed woman respectfully replied. "For the next 1,000 years, send him a set of 9 fruits every year," Blood Blade ordered. "Go." The gray-robed woman was somewhat shocked. 9 fruits? This was something that His Majesty, the God Emperor, would only arrange for disciples he truly liked. A set of 9 fruits was made up of 8 different spirit fruits and a special fruit wine, extremely rare and precious. "Yes," the gray-robed woman hurriedly replied and left. "Kakik, Blood Blade, a set of 9 fruits every year. If you can't comprehend it within 1,000 years, won't you lose face?" the black bird joked. "I'm not mistaken," Blood Blade indifferently replied. The gray-robed woman heard the conversation between Blood Blade and the black bird behind her and sighed inwardly. Her master truly thought highly of this disciple. Star. Chapter 484. That very night, as the curtain of night fell, the bloodshed God Emperor's disciples within the Crimson Stone courtyard held a banquet to invite Shuang. "Junior disciple, when we first entered Master's tutelage, we were only given a single command token for the sealed world pagoda. You, on the other hand, had 2. We are truly envious." "You're envious and jealous just like that. Didn't you hear Senior Sister Gong Feng say that 1 portion of the 9 fruits every year lasts for 1,000 years? So what if we're envious? Junior disciple Dongbua will most likely grasp a grade 1 deity heart within a few thousand years. With his cultivation speed, he should be comparable to a grade 1 true meaning transcendent. I believe it won't be difficult for him to become a stage 4 world deity." The disciples of the bloodshed God Emperor were all chatting and laughing, with Shuang as the center. Some of them were even trying to flatter him. Dongbua Shuang was also busy dealing with the various parties. Including himself, there were a total of 19 inner disciples and 25 honorary disciples residing in Crimson Stone Courtyard. Most of them had reached a bottleneck and were unable to advance any further. Most of these inner disciples were stage 2 or 3 world deities. As for the honorary disciples, they were all stage 1 world deities, with a few being stage 2 world deities. Even though it was difficult for them to advance any further, they still came to Crimson Stone Courtyard for the sake of the absolute art mountain world within the library. Monarch Green had once relied on this art to heavily injure one of the 3 ancestors, Pang Yi, with a single punch. Monarch Green's strength and status were higher than that of the 3 ancestors and the mysterious North Imperial Empress. In the deity world, he was the closest to the likes of Blood Blade, the Temporal Island Lord, and the Myriad God Palace Head. Knowing that the library contained this absolute art, it was only natural that they would come. Even if they could not grasp the complete absolute art, just comprehending some bits and pieces of it would be enough for them to dominate even amongst world deities. Junior disciple Dongbua, you should know that as long as His Majesty's disciples reside in Crimson Stone Courtyard, they will all have to do manual labor, a sloppy old man said. Manual labor, the gray-robed Gong Feng said. Junior disciple Dongbua doesn't need to do manual labor. I've exempted him from it. Why not exempt us from manual labor? Every time we come, we have to perform labor. The inner sect disciples at the side were all talking. The nominal disciples were more low-key, and they all called him Senior Brother Dongbua. The disciples of God Emperor had strict rules. The nominal disciples addressed the inner disciples as senior brothers and senior sisters. Inner disciples would also address personal disciples as senior brother or senior sister. Labor? Dongbua Shuang was puzzled. Junior brother Dongbo, every disciple usually has to do manual labor. The one in charge of this is senior sister Gong Feng. The sloppy old man beside him grinned. Dongbua Shuang watched from the side. He could also see that senior sister Gong Feng treated the ordinary juniors rather coldly. Only he and the two relatively young stage 3 world deities were polite to her. Through this banquet, Dongbua Shuang also got to know this group of disciples. Although he was highly sought after, on the surface, he was the weakest among them. He was the only deity. The next morning, a faint mist pervaded the air. Dongbua Shuang arrived alone at a tall tower at the corner of the crimson stone courtyard. The tower was so majestic that one could feel a boundless pressure just by looking at it. In fact, he even felt as though he had transformed into the world of the Xia people and was looking at the material world. This tower seemed to be formed from the superimposition of countless worlds. Just by looking at it, Dongbua Shuang understood that this sealed world tower was far more valuable than his own Crimson Rock Mountain. He truly deserves to be called the strongest expert in the deity world. His Majesty, the Bloodshed God Emperor, is truly unfathomable. Just a random sealed world pagoda placed here is already an incredible treasure. Shuang was inwardly startled. He then stepped through the pagoda door and entered. As an inner disciple, he could learn any world deity grade secret technique. His Majesty had left behind a total of 328 world deity grade secret techniques in the courtyard. This was many times more than what he had at Crimson Rock Mountain. However, whether it was Dongbua Shuang or the other inner disciples, none of them cared too much about world deity grade secret techniques. What they desired the most was absolute arts. Even if they managed to learn some bits and pieces of an absolute art, it would still be more powerful than a world deity grade secret technique. Every level of the sealed world tower contains a secret technique. When some of these secret techniques are combined, they can form a complete set of absolute arts. After entering the tower, Dongbua Shuang discovered many secret chambers. He casually chose a chamber and pushed the stone door open. The chamber was completely empty. Wang! The stone door closed. Dongbua Shuang sat down cross-legged and took out a command token. This token was number 351. Let's begin. Dongbua Shuang immediately activated the command token. The command token immediately emitted a bright light. Hua, an invisible force immediately wrapped around Dongbua Shuang's consciousness, sending it directly into the world of the 351st level. Dongbua Shuang's eyes lit up. In front of him was a vast world. With a single glance, he could see countless sculptures scattered far away. Although they were very sparse, there were at least 1 million of them in this vast world. Master said that if you have 2 tokens, you can go to the 95th and 351st level respectively to cultivate. So it's the descent of my consciousness. This is similar to the Bloodshed God Palace battle. Dongbua Shuang was enlightened. There was no danger in the descent of his consciousness. Dongbua Shuang looked around and saw that the sculptures in the distance were gradually waking up. The dirt and dust on their surfaces were also falling off. Dongbua Shuang stretched out his hand, and a spear on the ground flew into his hand. What's that? Dongbua Shuang's eyesight was extremely good. With a single glance, he could see that there were many mysterious patterns on a huge rock in the distance. Secret art? Dongbua Shuang immediately had a guess. He already knew that every level of the sealed world tower contained a secret art, and it was considered a part of an absolute art. Kill! Kill! The sculptures had all awakened, revealing their true appearances. Each of them was clad in thick armor and wielded all sorts of weapons. All of them instantly moved, surrounding Feng Lin. Dongbua Shuang had already memorized the patterns on the huge rock in his heart. His heart was stirred, but at this moment, he still used his spear arts to deal with these sculpture warriors. He did not dare to hide his strength in the sealed world tower. He immediately summoned his 3 mirage bodies and activated his great chaotic true force. For a moment, his aura was ferocious as he welcomed the sculpture warriors. Shwa! The first to arrive was a warrior wielding a long staff. He waved the staff fiercely, but his aura seemed to be very restrained. Pang! A mirage body's spear met the staff head-on. When the spear collided with the staff, the mirage body was directly sent flying. As it was sent flying, the other sculpture warriors also surrounded it. The mirage body did not have enough time to defend itself and was completely destroyed by an axe and a hammer. Boom boom boom, the sculpture warriors surrounded Feng Lin from all directions. In the blink of an eye, the mirage bodies were destroyed one by one. Dongbua Shuiying's main body was still traversing through the mirage body, trying his best to escape. He even switched places with his mirage body. However, he only managed to last for 3 breaths of time. Pang! A blade pierced through the mirage body and struck Dongbua Shuiying. It seemed like an ordinary blade strike, but its power was completely concentrated into his body. Even though he was at the 3rd level of the time immemorial body, his body still instantly exploded. Dongbua Shuiying's consciousness left his body. Who? The starry blue-robed Shuiying, who was sitting cross-legged in the secret room, opened his eyes. He did not dare believe what he had just seen. I lost too quickly. These statue warriors are too powerful. Any one of their attacks is far above mine. My body is very good at survival, yet I can't withstand the attacks from their weapons. Something's not right. Dongbua Shuiying was startled. In his mind, the images he saw on the huge boulder appeared, as well as the battle scenes of the sculpture warriors. These sculpture warriors, no matter what weapon they use, they seem to be using the same secret technique as the one on the boulder. The battle earlier was too intense, and he lost too quickly. Now that he thought about it, he immediately discovered this point. Again. Dongbua Shuiying immediately grew excited. I'll try my best to update as soon as possible and not stay up late. Chapter 485. Activating the token in his hand, his consciousness was once again brought to the 351st level of the sealed world pagoda. A vast world. Countless statues remained motionless. When Dongbua Shuiying arrived, the statues began to awaken. South Dongbua Shuiying soared into the sky and scanned his surroundings, intentionally searching for Dongbua Shuiying. Very quickly, he discovered other huge stones with pictures on them and memorized them one by one. At this time, the statue warriors began to surround him. Dongbua Shuiying also joined forces with his 3 mirage bodies to deal with one statue warrior at a time. Previously, he had lost too quickly. This made Dongbua Shuiying understand that once all the statue warriors surrounded him, he would not be able to resist at all. Thus, he had to quickly deal with one statue warrior at the very beginning. The statue warrior's blade slashed down furiously. There were no strange phenomena, merely a flash of the blade. In just a single exchange, 2 of the mirage bodies were severely injured and dissipated. At the same time, Dongbua Shuiying's main body and the last mirage body made use of this opportunity to attack with their spears. One of them executed the chaotic suppression while the other executed the star meteor annihilation. Hua! The spear's shaft twisted and spun, bringing with it the shadow of the star meteor annihilation. The spear brushed past the back of the statue warrior's blade and pierced into its chest. Its thick armor trembled slightly, and cracks could be seen on its surface. Pang! The other spear struck the back of the statue warrior. The statue warrior was sent flying, but it was not injured in the slightest. What? Not only are their attacks strong, but their defenses are also so strong. Dongbua Shuiying was shocked. Kill! After a short exchange of moves, even more sculpture warriors surged forward to surround Shuiying. Xueying was almost instantly submerged. He relied on his mirage body to struggle at death's door, trying his best to observe the attacking techniques of these sculpture warriors. However, he only lasted 5 or 6 breaths of time before he was once again exterminated, and his consciousness returned. N. Dongbo Xueying, who was sitting cross-legged in the secret room, nodded and said, "These statue warriors are using different weapons, but they are using the same secret technique. The secret technique is very powerful, which makes their moves seem ordinary, but they are actually much more powerful than any of my moves. This secret art has a faint hint of the chaos divine heart. Looks like cultivating in this world will help me grasp the divine heart of chaos." Dongbo Xueying understood his master's intentions with the blood blade. In Dongbo Xueying's mind, his master, the blood blade, had transmitted some information to him. It was all about the chaotic whole deity heart and the world deity heart. Forget about the world deity heart. He had completely understood it after reading it once, because he had already grasped the world deity heart long ago. Thus, he focused more of his attention on carefully experiencing his master's teachings on the chaotic deity heart. On one hand, he was experiencing it while on the 351st level of the sealed world pagoda. As time passed, finally, he managed to collect the complete secret art from the huge boulders. Only then did he realize that the statue warriors were only using a portion of the secret art. They had not unleashed the full power of the secret art. If they were to unleash the full power of the secret art, he would not even be able to struggle. Furthermore, he was only using a portion of the secret art. Furthermore, he was fighting against Dongbo Xueying in close combat. This allowed him to experience the secret art even more closely. Battling was a learning process. If the learning process in the 351st level of the sealed world pagoda could be said to be slow and arduous, then the 95th level was completely different. This was a lush forest. Within the forest, Dongbo Xueying looked at his surroundings. Amidst the countless towering trees, there were many statue warriors. These statue warriors were also awakening. Similarly, amidst the towering trees, there were also many huge boulders. These boulders were engraved with many mysterious diagrams. Kill! The statue warriors had completely awakened. The first statue warrior stepped on the tree and transformed into a beam of light as it charged forward. At the same time, it lashed out with the long whip in its hand. Hua! The long whip flew through the air, but in an instant, it transformed into thousands of illusory whips that completely enveloped Dongbo Xueying, leaving him with no way to escape. Kill! Another statue warrior charged over. He instantly unsheathed his sword. The bewitching sword light directly arced through the sky. It was as if it was coiling around a finger. The sword light twisted and danced, similarly entangling towards Xueying. Kill! Another sculpture warrior waved his sledgehammer. The sledgehammer fiercely smashed towards Xueying from afar. Hong long long the place where the sledgehammer smashed produced countless black streams of air. Countless black streams of air enveloped Xueying and entangled him. All the statue warriors. All of them could attack from afar. Countless sword lights and saber lights wreaked havoc. Fortunately, there were only 10 statues attacking at a time. Thus, Dongbo Xueying was still able to put up a fight. The defense of the statue warriors on the 95th level was not considered strong. After killing one statue warrior with great difficulty, he only lasted for 2 breaths of time. Due to the omnipresent restraints, he could not even escape and rapidly died. World of the Xia people, within Crimson Rock Mountain. This is a secret technique. Dongbo Xueying had only entered the 95th level 12 times before he had completely memorized this secret technique. He had even begun to comprehend and learn it. It was just that within the sealed world pagoda, he still acted as if he did not know anything about it. After all, if he learned it too quickly, it would be too easy for others to see through him. Now is not the time to reveal the world deity heart, Dongbo Xueying thought. For the sake of caution, there is no need to inform my teacher. The safest secret. A secret that only a single person knows of. Even though he trusted his teacher, the Blood Blade, his enemies were from the Temporal Island. The Temporal Island, the Bloodshed God Palace, the Myriad God Palace, these were three superpowers that had enmity with each other, and there had always been conflicts between them. Assassinations, and even powerful existences killing each other were common occurrences. For a powerful existence from the Temporal Island to kill an inner disciple of the Blood Blade, this was a small matter. If they could kill a personal disciple of the Blood Blade, the Temporal Island would be delighted. Thus, he had to be cautious. Wait until I grasp the chaotic deity heart. At that time, I'll be a stage 2 world deity. Dongbua Shuang thought. By then, those powerful existences won't be able to kill me with a single thought. The only ones who can kill me are my teacher, the Temporal Island Lord, the Myriad God Palace Head, and a few others. At the level of the Myriad God Palace Head and the Temporal Island Lord, they would not lower themselves to deal with a junior. The only ones he had to be careful of were the other powerful existences. Powerful existences, with a single thought, they would be able to kill them even if they were hiding in the material world. It was pointless for Dongbua Shuang to hide anywhere. Even if he hid under the tutelage of his teacher, the Blood Blade, it would be pointless. Take it slow. Dongbua Shuang was a very patient person. His future was boundless, and he was not in a rush. Naturally, he would take things one step at a time. Nobody would be able to shake him or affect him. I'll first learn this secret technique. Dongbua Shuang stood alone under a large tree, the red leaves of the tree fluttering in the wind. With a spear in hand, he began to slowly display his spear techniques, comprehending the profoundness of the secret technique. Gradually, strands of air currents began to revolve around the spear. These air currents were extremely tough, and even a towering mountain would be crushed by these strands of air currents. The strands of air currents began to spread throughout the entire Crimson Dust Island. Countless strands of air currents traversed hundreds of millions of kilometers. If this were the sealed world pagoda, those statue warriors would most likely have been crushed to pieces in an instant. I've just begun to comprehend it, and I haven't mastered it yet. However, this domain-type technique is indeed exquisite. It goes in a different direction from the domain-type secret technique I created, the world prison. Dongbua Shuang thought. Having grasped the world deity heart for so many years, he had created a whole set of secret techniques based on the world deity heart. One of them was a domain-type secret technique, the world prison. It focused on suppressing and trapping enemies. But now, he had learned this secret technique from the sealed world pagoda. This secret technique originated from an absolute art, and it allowed Dongbua Shuang to see another direction. Dongbua Shuang sat cross-legged under a large tree, his spear resting on his knees. He calmed his heart and began to comprehend. The countless air currents around Crimson Dust Island, which spanned over 100 million li, became increasingly condensed, as if numerous dragons were dancing in the air. Chapter 486. Within the white-robed Dongbua Shuaying's body, within the inner world. This lonely world spanned hundreds of millions of kilometers. Although there was land, forests, mountains, rivers, deserts, grasslands, plants, there were no living creatures. In the skies of this world, there were countless black water droplets forming a huge dark cloud. This was the great chaotic true force. Hong hong hong, in the depths of this vast land, there was a fiery red energy surging violently. This was Dongbua Shuaying's most fundamental power, world deity energy. At the core of this boundless world deity energy, countless runes converged to form a blurry three-dimensional diagram. After a large amount of world deity energy was converted, it would turn into a condensed stream of air. This secret technique is extremely complicated. My comprehension of the complete world deity heart is extremely deep, and I've even created an entire set of secret skills. Yet, it's still so difficult to cultivate. Deep underground, Dongbua Shuaying's huge illusory head could be vaguely seen. He was currently staring at the three-dimensional diagram in detail. Time continued to flow. The three-dimensional diagram became increasingly clear, and the countless runes continued to fuse with each other, forming a perfect whole. After a full 3 years, the three-dimensional diagram finally became clear. It was a black sphere. The countless runes eventually formed a very small black sphere. It looked ordinary, but in reality, it was extremely mysterious. This secret technique was much more mysterious than ordinary world deity-grade secret techniques. Just getting started was already so difficult. Hua hua hua, the huge amount of fiery red deity energy was converted by the black sphere, turning into many small black spheres. The countless black spheres then formed chains. The long black chains collided with each other. I've succeeded. The white-robed Dongbu Shuang, who had been sitting under the tree for more than 3 years, stood up. One could only see black chains flying out from his body. Countless thin black chains weaved through the sky. If these chains were to bind the opponent, even if they managed to break free, the countless chains would continue to bind them. Shuang extended his hand and grabbed onto one of the countless shackles surrounding him. The shackles were cold and extremely tough. Under the restraint of these shackles, even my true body would only be able to display 50% of my strength. This is a mysterious secret technique I learned from the 95th level. Master didn't give me a name, so I'll call it World Chains for now. Dongbu Shuang thought to himself. If I combine this secret technique with my self-created secret technique, the World Prison, I'll be able to increase its power. The World Chains were similar to the Great Chaotic True Force. It was a type of energy transformed from world deity energy. She was very clear that their master, God Emperor, believed that Dongbu Shuang would be able to succeed within 1,000 years, yet he had yet to succeed even after 800 years. Master is quite fond of you. Don't disappoint him, Gong Feng said with a frown. Junior disciple brother understands, Dongbu Shuang hurriedly replied. Amen. Go on then. You can continue with your matters, Gong Feng said. Dongbu Shuang immediately left and headed towards the sealed world pagoda. Gong Feng watched from afar with a slight frown. This junior disciple brother Dongbu seems to be quite serious in his cultivation. But master's judgment shouldn't be wrong, unless junior disciple brother Dongbu appears to be serious on the surface, but he's actually very lazy in his cultivation. If he's lazy in his cultivation because he's taken on master, that's simply too laughable. Gong Feng's eyes flashed with coldness. She looked down on those with low combat power. She would only be slightly polite to those who were strong and had a bright future ahead of them. As for the others, she looked down on them. Bloodshed God Palace, within a secret underground palace. An enormous scarlet red cauldron stood about 50,000 kilometers tall. Flames raged within the cauldron, and even outside the cauldron, the temperature was incomparably high. Although the surrounding space had been reinforced, it was still faintly distorting. The temperature here was so high that ordinary stage 4 world deities would be incinerated into ashes. A towering figure sat cross-legged in front of the scarlet red cauldron. He was tens of thousands of kilometers tall just by sitting cross-legged. He was dressed in crimson robes, and his eyes were currently staring at the flames within the cauldron. One had to know that the temperature outside the cauldron was already so terrifying. The flames within the cauldron were even more terrifying, and they were most likely not any weaker than the ones in the deepest parts of the sun star. Chi, within the cauldron, a strand of black energy could be faintly seen amidst the flames. Only by setting up arrays and relying on the cosmos cauldron can I occasionally form the strand of energy for a short period of time. Bloodblade's eyes were constantly staring at the cauldron as he muttered to himself in a low voice, how exactly can I truly control and use it? Where exactly am I lacking in the Tao of Destruction? Bloodblade, you've already obtained the cosmos cauldron and created an array. On Bloodblade's shoulder was a black bird. The black bird shouted out, the cauldron will occasionally form that strand of energy. Bloodblade, you can observe it day in and day out, studying it in detail. Temporal Island Lord, Myriad God Palace Head, and the others might not even be able to grasp the direction even if they wanted to. Blood Blade, you've already seen this energy. The moment you break through, you'll truly reach a higher level. You'll truly be unparalleled, and you'll be able to completely surpass them. Currently, Blood Blade, Temporal Island Lord, and the others were all standing on the same level. Blood Blade smiled. Even if I were to risk my life to obtain this Cosmos Cauldron, it would still be worth it. Right, Blood Blade, I have to remind you that you've already accepted that Dongbua Shuaying as your disciple for 1,000 years. The Black Bird said, he has yet to grasp a Grade 1 deity heart. The second chapter was almost here. Chapter 487. Today was the second chapter. The Black Bird bounced happily on the shoulder of the Bloodshed God Emperor. However, even in an environment that could easily incinerate Stage 4 world deities, it was still completely unscathed. One could see just how terrifying it was. At this moment, it was bouncing proudly as it said, "Bloodshed, didn't you previously swear to me that I wouldn't be mistaken?" It even deliberately imitated the voice of the Bloodshed God Emperor. Have you been slapped in the face? Have you lost face? The Black Bird laughed strangely. I told you not to be too confident. The future has yet to happen. Everything is possible. He hasn't grasped a Grade 1 deity heart. Blood Blade frowned slightly. It seems I overestimated him. He's not worth my grooming. Alright, let's not talk about him anymore. As he spoke, Blood Blade continued observing the scene within the Cosmos Furnace. He observed the strands of black energy formed by the convergence of the terrifying flames, trying his best to pry into the laws of profound mysteries and find a way to break through. Oh! The Black Bird obediently replied. It was clear that God Emperor no longer cared about Dongbua Shuang. This caused the Black Bird to sigh inwardly. What a pitiful fellow. It was clear. The Bloodshed God Emperor was a cold person deep in his bones. Having lived for so long, God Emperor had experienced and seen too much. Life and death were too common for him. He had accepted many disciples. These inner disciples and honorary disciples were all accepted in the past billions of years. After all, if one did not become a powerful existence, their lifespan was limited. If they did not die in battle, their true deity heart would crumble, or they would reincarnate. Over the years, God Emperor had accepted many disciples. He had accepted them whenever he wanted. If he did not want to accept them, even Grade 1 true meaning transcendence would scram to the side. If they were worth grooming, he would properly groom them. If he felt that they were not worth grooming, he was too lazy to even look at them, throwing them to the back of his mind. After all, they were not worth his effort. He was the great Blood Blade. Time and energy were precious. Even for his two most successful disciples, Monarch Green and Monarch Guzong, he had given them opportunities and allowed them to develop as they pleased. He couldn't be bothered with them, as he was more focused on his own cultivation. This was also the reason why he was able to stand at the apex of the deity world. Deep in his bones, he valued his own combat power. As for the so-called Bloodshed God Palace, he did not care too much about it. Even his disciple, Monarch Green, had betrayed the Bloodshed God Palace because his disciple had his own path. Even though he was too lazy to care about it, he was still very happy to see his disciple grow strong. Territory. In fact, the management of the territory was left to his subordinates, Emperor Qianju and the others. Yes. Blood Blade reached out with his right hand, his palm crackling with destructive electricity. We share the same bloodline. You're clearly only one step away. Blood Blade raised his head and stared at the Cosmos Furnace, watching as a trace of dark power occasionally flashed in the raging flames. To this day, Dongbu Shuang had yet to learn the secret arts of the 351st level of the Sealed World Pagoda. Naturally, he had yet to grasp the chaotic deity heart. Too ruthless. He doesn't give us any face at all. Previously, we could still go to the neighboring garden for a stroll, but today, he actually chased us out. Within Dongbu Shuaying's cavern dwelling, the Xia people and the deities were in the midst of a heated discussion. When Dongbu Shuaying walked in from outside, they all hurriedly walked up to him. Dongbu, according to the rules, we can only move about in this cavern dwelling and that corridor in the Crimson Stone Courtyard. Emperor Yunhai walked over with a frown. Emperor Yunhai walked over with a frown, but in reality, the garden next door is a place where the servants and attendants of the inner disciples can go for a stroll. But today, we were chased out by the guards there. Dongbo, that guard dared to treat us in such a manner. Could it be that His Majesty is dissatisfied with you? That's right. Dongbu, what happened? The Xia people and the deities looked at Dongbu Shuang. They were not fools. They were not angry at being chased out. Instead, they were worried that Dongbu Shuang might have lost the favor of His Majesty. A small problem. Dongbu Shuang smiled. It's nothing. Oh. Everyone exchanged glances and did not say anything else. Jing Qiu walked over and transmitted a message over. Dongbo, what exactly happened? Even a guard dared to treat one of us like that? Perhaps my cultivation has disappointed Master. Dongbu Shuang transmitted, don't worry. It's nothing. Be careful. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. Jing Qiu transmitted consolingly. Suddenly. Junior apprentice brother Dongbu. A cold voice rang out from outside. Hearing this, Dongbu Shuang hurriedly walked out. At the entrance of the cavern dwelling stood a cold, gray-robed woman, Gong Feng. Gong Feng coldly said, in the future, properly discipline your subordinates. Servants and attendants know where they can go, and where they can't. I've already told you. Fortunately, you didn't trespass into a forbidden area. If you trespass into an important forbidden area, you'll be executed immediately. Junior apprentice brother understands. Dongbu Shuang was not angry. After all, strictly speaking, it was his subordinates who had violated the rules. It was just that everyone had tacitly agreed to it. The Crimson Stone Courtyard was managed by Gong Feng. Now that her face had suddenly turned cold, it was clear that Senior Sister Gong Feng was very displeased with him. He had long heard that Senior Sister Gong Feng was a very cold person. She was still polite to those who were strong and had great potential, but she looked down on everyone else. The servants and attendants of Stage 3 world deities in the Crimson Stone Courtyard were treated relatively lightly. Previously, he had also enjoyed special treatment, but now, he did not. Also, you haven't grasped a grade 1 deity heart even after cultivating for 2,000 years. You're so useless that you don't have the qualifications for me to exempt you from labor. Gong Feng coldly threw out a crystal token. In the Crimson Stone Courtyard, you will have to undergo labor once every 1,000 years. Go and do your labor. Dongbu Shuang received the crystal token. Yes. There should be labor. Since Gong Feng wanted him to go, he had no way to refuse. In the mountains behind the Crimson Stone Courtyard, Dongbu Shuang was currently chopping down a large tree with a huge axe. The trees were tall and majestic, and Dongbu Shuang used all his strength to chop them down. However, the trees were incomparably tough, and he only managed to chop down a single tree after an hour. Peng peng peng. The sounds of chopping could be heard, but Dongbu Shuaying's heart gradually calmed down. Gong Feng did not like him at all. His master did not summon him again. Some of his fellow disciples were still polite, but they only discussed behind his back. Some of them were much colder when they met. This was the world of cultivation, where strength reigned supreme. Every year, he would get a portion of the 9 fruits for 1,000 years. Furthermore, he was personally guided by his master, and he cultivated in the Sealed World Pagoda. With such treatment, 2,000 years of cultivation was equivalent to 10,000 years of being a disciple of a powerful existence. His fellow disciples felt that Dongbua Shui Ying's potential was not that high. Naturally, their attitudes towards him changed. Peng peng peng. As the axe chopped down on the tree, Dongbua Shui Ying became even calmer. The corners of his mouth curled upwards. What others thought of him was their business. As long as he chose his own path and kept moving forward, there was no need for him to be confused. When he became more dazzling, countless people would be polite and respectful towards him. No wonder Master made the disciples do labor. During the labor, I had to use all my strength to chop down a single tree. Like this, there's no way for me to calm down and cultivate. But although my body is tired, my mind is very relaxed. Dongbua Shuang thought to himself. Perhaps it would be more beneficial for cultivation if I relax and work hard. You're tuning into the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.